What is up, guys? It is the Sports Nerd Bradley Walker, and welcome to the Walker Report, part of NGSC Sports Guys. Remember the website, it's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. We are also part of Mancini Media, the Game Winner Sports Network, Snowman Multimedia Sports, and the Sports Alliance of America Incorporated. Happy Thursday, guy. This is the last Thursday of the month of August. Next week, we will be in September, and that always means one thing, that football will be officially back next week. Next Thursday is week 1 of the National Football League, so that will be great. We have 2 sponsors on the show, guys. We have the first one is creatingzenspaces.com. It is the local choice in St. Petersburg, Florida for house cleaning, organization, decluttering, and pet sitting. It's about finding the peace within you and adding comfort to your life. And guys, remember, Zen Spaces begins with you. Be kind to yourself and one another. We are also sponsored by fun-wags.com. Born from a near tragedy, a Fun Wags mascot had a bad reaction from Restore brand treat, but we make our own treats with 3 ingredients you can pronounce. Head on over to fun-wags.com. At the end of the day, guys, our fur babies deserve the best. Again, head over to fun-wags.com to get those treats. All right, guys, let me bring on my 2 great co-hosts. Good evening, gentlemen.
Thanks,
Good
Riley.
evening, good evening.
Happy college football.
Yes.
Yes.
Should be a national holiday weekend.
I'm glad I predicted Georgia Tech to beat Florida State.
You guys were on that one.
So did
You
I.
guys were on one. I didn't see that coming.
That's correct.
I did.
I didn't see the no. All the junk they talked in the offseason, I figured Mike Norvell would have them boys ready to go. I guess they were ready to go home. They talked mad shit all offseason. We deserve to be there. We were 13-0. No 13-0 team has ever gotten locked out. Then they had the audacity to go and shit the bed against Georgia. Okay, well, fine. It was Georgia. Not you didn't have all your best players, and Georgia's got a great program and everything. That makes sense. And then last week, the only game on, the only game in town, and what do? They don't show up again. And we were talking about it a couple weeks ago when we were discussing the coaches and how close Mike Norvell was to getting fired. And then Jordan Travis single-handedly saved his job. And now you got to be asking yourself, well, was it worth it?
Exactly.
Yes.
And I know the Gator.
Yeah.
The inner Gator and Bradley's shitting and grin from ear to ear.
You haven't shut up at the end of the season, so yes, I am.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you have to feel even money on it now. Where you were looking at it going, man, that's probably a loss. You got to be like, all right, well, that's even money. If you're giving me 3, I'm gonna take that all day and twice on Sunday. You got to be feeling even money.
It's still a nightmarish schedule in November. That's all I'm gonna say.
But I mean, if you can salvage anything out of your schedule, right? You get that Florida State game right 2 weeks ago when we were kind of looking ahead, doing a little bit of previewing, and we were talking, discussing the whole thing. You had like 5%, 3%.
Correct.
Oh, okay. And now you got to feel even money. If they give you 3, you'll take it all day. If they're giving you 3, you take that.
Well, I guess the question too now is, can they beat Boston College? Because that's their next opponent.
Well,
can they beat BC? Is the question now? Because if they go 0-2 to start the season,
forget it.
LC just got even hotter than it already is after they lost in Dublin to Georgia Tech. So,
Yeah.
Chuck, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Good to be back on. I see Lewis and I see Adam with that long hair.
Yes. Yep.
Lewis with
I'm
no
rocking the
hair.
lawn.
I appreciate
Oh,
that.
Buck, hi.
What's happening?
Yeah. Chuck, it's been a long time since he's been on
It is
here.
a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he contacted
AKA
me.
Buc Flair. I think everybody knows me as Buc Flair. So you say Chuck and everybody's like, who?
Right. We know you.
But
I know you.
he runs a great Facebook group called Sports Cruise. If you guys want to go over there, he runs a great Facebook group. Bunch of good guys in there, and as you can see, he is one of the biggest Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans that you're going to meet.
Hey, I wore this shirt for you. I wore this shirt for you tonight, just because I know you're a Patriots fan. You're a Patriots fan, so I had to put on. You know, it still says Bucks, but I know how you feel about Tom Brady.
Well, I'll be honest with you. My mom was still here. She passed away. She was a diehard Bucks fan, and I came home one day from work, and she's like, "Tom Brady's coming to the Bucks," and I'm like, "Why would he come to Tampa? Like, why?"
Yeah.
And she's like, and I'm like, and then within an hour of her saying that, all over the news, ESPN, he gets on, and I'm like, "Oh wow, she was being real." I'm like, okay then, and he signed here, and then they won a Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's that's the way it is. So there you go.
Is there a better retirement spot? You get to have your best friend in the world come down. You go play 2 years in one of the nicest cities in America in a great venue. You win a Super Bowl at home. And then, after the misery that was the last 3 years in New England, from the Eagles Super Bowl to the end, and how it ended in New England, to get out of there, to recover your legacy a little bit, if it needed, if there was any, lingering question, to put to bed the Bill Belichick question: was it Brady? Was it Belichick? Because we had all that, data from Belichick before Brady, and he was an okay coach, but he was never great. Then Brady gets there, they win 6 rings, and then we knew Belichick was a great defensive mind, won 2 rings in New York with the Giants in the early '90s, but you just couldn't find. There was a piece missing. Then they get Brady, and they go on that run, 20 years of success. And now then the rumor hangs. You've got that whole rumor as well. Was it Brady or was it Belichick? Who was the GOAT? Was it Belichick and Brady was just the guy he needed, or was it Belichick and or was it Brady but Brady was the guy Belichick needed? You know what I'm saying? And then you go and you win a ring with another guy, and you put all those questions to bed.
Very true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got to think about, Joe Montana tried to do it. Brett Favre tried to do it. And then Tom Brady actually went out and did it. Now, Aaron Rodgers is the next one to try to do it. So we'll see if he's able to do it this year. I know Lewis is excited over there. Hopefully he can get past the first game of the season against San Francisco and a replay of last year or whatever.
I'm afraid it's going to happen, Buck. I mean, not that. Well, no, I shouldn't say, because I actually won that first game last year, but it came at a cost. I'm just hoping that that this year he'll be able to avoid injury. Maybe he can play a game against the 49ers, but I highly doubt it. Unless, of course, Mr. Irrelevant has a really off night. I can only hope for that.
Well, I had some.
The former Mr. Irrelevant.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about that because I know you're a big Jets fan. I know you're looking forward to Week 1. I think if you're a football fan, I don't really care how good or bad your team is. Hope springs eternal when it's 0-0. One thing that I wanted to mention that I saw earlier while I was just scrolling TikTok is that Trente Jones and not Trente Jones. The offensive lineman for the 49ers, his name is escaping me now, and Brandon Ayuk are not expected to play in against the Jets. So,
well, Ayuk is because he just signed a big contract.
He just signed $150.
Okay, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. No, that's right. That's right.
Yep.
I forgot that because that report came out like an hour or two before Ayuk made the deal, and I forgot that he had officially signed a deal.
I
So
just got the report 20 minutes ago. But we knew that was coming, though. I mean, no question about it. I mean, that was a given, just a matter of when.
yeah, and I think for team chemistry and continuity, those are the things that you got to take care of as soon as possible.
I guess the big question now is, will Dak and Micah Parsons get their contracts in Dallas? That's up to Jerry Jones, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think Dak's going to get a contract. I think this is ride or die. Well, they don't make the playoffs. Even if they do make the playoffs, he doesn't win and take them to the top, then he's done. But the thing about it is, it makes it so bad is that Trevor Lawrence set that record and stuff, and so now he wants a 5-year, $300 million contract on his next one. So I don't know which team's going to give Dak that kind of amount of money, unless it's the Jets. Maybe the Jets. They're Aaron Rodgers there, and next thing for him to do is to go sign with the Vikings next year, just like Brett Favre did. Plays there and he goes signs with the Vikings.
I think this is going to be his last year in the league. I don't think he's going to go to Minnesota and be another. It's not even another Brett Favre story. I think that this is going to be it.
I lean
towards.
I
hope it is because he's 41. He'll be 4. I think he's 41 this year.
Is that
I think both of those guys come down to how they play and how they go out. If Dak plays very well, if he has a 30-10 season, 4,500 yards and 63-65% completion percentage, and they go to the championship game, I think there will be a lot of pressure to get a deal done. Now, does that mean that you have to let Micah go? Because I mean, and I think there's a lot that goes into, and there's a lot that goes into that because it really depends on how those two guys play there for Dallas. Because I think it's a little that a lot of those contracts that are coming up there, you're playing for a contract. I really do. I think Dak is playing. If he wants to stay in Dallas, he's going to have a spectacular year. And I think for Aaron, I think it really depends on how that ankle and how that Achilles heel holds up. If he goes out and he has another baller year, and he's feeling good, I could see him wanting to come back and play another year or two. Like Brady, when Brady called it quits in New England, and he was ready to, he was hem-hawing about, and January came around and he wasn't playing anymore. And, the Super Bowl, and okay, yeah, I'm done. And then he got bit by the bug in March. I could very much see Aaron Rodgers saying, this is it. This is my last year. I'm done. And getting bit by the bug in March. Not knowing what to do with himself, I don't know if he has a girlfriend or he's married. I'm not aware of him. Not really sure if he's seeing anyone right now. But I think that's what really happened for Brady. It's like, when you've been doing something for so long and you take some time off and especially when you have oodles and canoodles of money and you don't and travel and going places and doing things is not financially inhibited or prohibited. When you come off and now you've had 3 months off to just do whatever, and you've done everything that there is to do, and now you're sitting at home with nothing to do. I very much see Aaron Rodgers in that same boat where, he has his off-season routine, and now that routine, he doesn't need to get up at 5 a.m. and go for a run and go down to the team facility, be the team facility at 6:30 to get treatment and then go and watch film until the rest of this guys start getting there around 8 or 9 and then going through the weekly, the weekly off-season routine. And I very much see Aaron Rodgers as the kind of guy that'll miss it.
Yeah, and I could see that.
And it's like, Reggie Miller said something that was deeply profound. Because there was rumors, because he retired fairly young, and he had a lot of unfinished business, unanswered questions,
Right.
and he said, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go, and I think a lot of guys, it's just so hard to let go when you've been playing,
Well,
when you've grown up always being the man, always being that guy, from Pop Warner to high school to college to Pro Bowl, and you've always been the guy that everybody else has been relying on. You time yourself with when Aaron's in the building, when Peyton's in the building, when Tom's in the building, and everything, and you're so used to that adulation, that high fret, and especially when you're an adrenaline junkie like that, and then like now you're free to do whatever. I forget who, I think it was Michael Bennett. It might have been somebody else. It was a basketball player or somebody. Forget who it was. And he talked about not having anything to do, and not knowing how to fill his time. And he would just drive around Southern California for hours. He'd get in his car because he was so conditioned to getting up and going and doing things. Well, he didn't have anything to go and do now. And so he just drove around Southern California for hours, not aimlessly, just driving around.
on that freeway, I've been there.
Just
I
driving
know.
around. And
Well, I'd drive around too with $50 million. I mean, that's what I would do.
Well,
yeah, he had like 30.
Probably have somebody driving for me. Tell you the truth. I mean,
yeah.
I think a lot of this thing has to do with Tom Brady's. Now he's got a 10-year deal. Aaron Rodgers will probably hook up with Pat McAfee. I could see him on the Pat McAfee show doing that kind of stuff, because he's just a easy going type of guy. He likes to do all that weird stuff. So I could see him hooking up with Pat McAfee because, I mean, he's the highest paid,
Sure.
ESPN guy right now. So, yeah, I could see him doing that. But it depends. I actually have the Jets in the making the playoffs this season. I got them being the last spot. I got the Jets making the last spot of the playoffs. And a lot of people are kind of been giving me, I did my final analysis of the NFL season, how I see it going. And my two biggest disappointment teams are the Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys. I think those are two teams. Those are two teams that I've got doing.
Even with Lamar?
Even with Lamar, I don't like what the Ravens did in the offseason with their O-line and their wide receiver issue again. So I don't like that. I mean, Derrick Henry is not going to be something that's going to be a Todd Monken system where he comes out of the backfield and catches the ball. I mean, think about what they did last year, led the league in rushing, then they get in that championship game and they threw the ball all the time, and they still almost beat the Chiefs. Their defense is good, but they lost somebody on that defense that I thought was kind of like a heart and soul kind of guy with Queen going to Pittsburgh. So to me, I have the Steelers and the Bengals battling out for that playoff spot division there, because I think the Joe Burrow thing with him staying healthy. Jamar Chase is another story right now. I can see him getting the deal done here soon, but then what kind of issues are you going to have with T. Higgins now? Because T. Higgins wanted the contract and they just told him to wait to the end of the year. So now if Jamar Chase gets his contract, is there going to be a little bit of animosity there between Higgins and Chase and the ownership and all that kind of good stuff? Because Burr is making, next year he's scheduled to make $46 million a year as a quarterback, but he's got to stay healthy, in my opinion. And then the thing with the Cowboys, if you followed football this off season, they didn't do anything. They were stuck with Dak. Dak did not want to move off his $60 million contract this year. So basically they couldn't do anything because of that salary cap issue that they had. So all the marbles on Dak. They signed Zeke Elliott, from Bradley's team, the Patriots. I'm pretty sure he's hurting over that.
No.
A guy that lost like 20 pounds and had flashes last year with the Patriots, but they were behind every ball game. So, and they got a guy named Ricardo Doodle or Dowdle or whatever as a backup. They just signed Dalvin Cook to the practice squad team. So CeeDee Lamb's got his money. He's happy. But Dan Quinn leaving that defense, and now they've lost Deron Bland, the cornerback, nickel kind of guy. Gilmore signed with the Vikings, so they don't have anything else to look, to reach out there. They might sign another. I see him maybe signing Caleb Fiery or whatever. He's out there from Tennessee. They might go after a cornerback, but they have no linebackers in Dallas. So if Cowboy fans are listening, do not expect your team to make the playoffs this season. I'm pretty much locked in on that one because the NFC, there's San Francisco that's like right here. Philadelphia, when they acquired Barkley, they came to about right here. The Detroit Lions, they're right there because of what they experienced last year, and they got a great offensive line. And Jared Goff is such a pocket passer. So the whole key will be, can those three teams stay healthy all year long in the NFC? And who's going to upset them if they do make the playoffs? Everything. Look at Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins now, we don't know what kind of a quarterback he's going to be with Achilles, coming off that kind of injury too as well. And then they started the drama by drafting the quarterback in the first round. Then they signed all these other guys like Justin Simmons to come over there and play safety. Now they got a great defense now all of a sudden. So we're going to see exactly how the coach goes. I still think Tampa Bay has a great shot to four-peat, tie the Saints. The Saints won that division 4 years in a row. We got a chance to win that division 4 years in a row this year. We did a great job of keeping Mike Evans. Defense is younger.
My favorite player.
Yeah, we got everything. We got everything going there in Tampa. Baker surprised everybody, just like Minnesota got Sam Darnold. Who knows what Darnold's going to do this year? I mean, he's been thrown under the bus for the last few years, but then he gets to work under Kyle Shanahan, and now he goes to McConnell, and he's got Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in football, to throw the ball to. So, there was not really much hype on McCarthy even playing much this year because of all the marbles on Sam Darnold this year from Minnesota, and they got Flores as a defensive coordinator. So that whole NFC North is the best division in football this year. Now, if I bounce over to the AFC, the AFC North has been the best dominant team, but that AFC South, slowly but surely, with the Jaguars, the Colts, the Texans, Tennessee, what they did this offseason, I'm interested to see how that division plays out because that's going to be a real good division right there. So, and I'm sorry to say, Bradley, I got your Patriots finishing last place. I don't see them. I don't see them much doing anything this year. I don't see them. I mean, I think the quarterback, they already named Brissett as a starter. They're not even going to throw Drake May out there, even though you got another quarterback over there named Joe Milton from Tennessee that actually did some things over there this preseason too as well. So and you got a guy named Jalen Polk at a wide receiver. You got rid of Juju he can go sign with Kansas City and get another ring. I hope you guys feel the same way I do. Let's not see Kansas City in the Super Bowl again. I don't want to see Kansas City in the Super Bowl again. I mean, they're going to try to three-peat. No team's ever done that before in the modern era. So everybody's going to be on the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift story again. And I just hope they got an easy division. They play it. It's kind of like a switch from Brady. Won't be long. We'll be comparing Andy Reid to Bill Belichick here pretty soon. If they get another ring, we're gonna be comparing Reid to Bill Belichick. Now, is which one's better? You know what I mean? And it all comes down to Andy Reid did well when he was with Philadelphia, and then he goes to Kansas City and he does well, and now he's got Patrick Mahomes. So Bill Belichick did well when he was with New York. Then he went over to New England, and Brady, the rest was history. Now Belichick's unemployed. So it'd be interesting to see if the Chiefs do repeat. I think it's going to be terrible for the NFL. If they make the Super Bowl and get beat, that'd be great for the NFL. I just think that's how fans are in the NFL. We don't want to see, continuing domination like we saw the Patriots do for like 13 years or whatever.
that's
You know, it was complete domination in that division. That division was just Miami Jets and Dolphins or Bills. They were all trash during the Brady era. And now you look at Mahomes, the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chargers. They're all trash now. So Kansas City's got to, you know,
always trash.
I don't think the guy's gonna. I don't think the guy's gonna lose that division for another, 3 years at least. The way the Chiefs are set up right now. So.
By the way, did anybody really comment on Facebook yesterday? It was a question. Since 1996, how many times the Cowboys made the Super Bowl? None, and Taylor Swift won. And I said that doesn't count because she didn't play in the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. It doesn't count.
Another interesting stat now is that 19 straight quarterbacks that have lost the Super Bowl have failed to come back to the Super Bowl, and we have five guys currently. Playing: Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Jimmy Garoppolo is the other one.
I'm actually not surprised by that. You see, because every time when the team loses the Super Bowl, they kind of lose that momentum, and they lose the concentration, and they start to fall off a bit, and it takes some years to recover from that. So it really doesn't surprise me how, despite the 19 quarterbacks that have lost, they failed to come back, because it's very rare. Because when you lose that, you lose the biggest game of the year, and it's like, oh crap! Now how can we rebuild from this? They're going to like a downward spiral from there. So it doesn't really shock me whatsoever. As for teams to win the Super Bowl, it's very rare to come back from it, because, I have what you call the championship hangover, and it kind of affects them a little bit. Like, well, yeah, everybody you won. Like, wait, we got to start this all over again. We got to build up, try to see repeat. And a lot of teams don't, because they're so hungover from the year before. We're like, yeah, we won, we're the champs. We're not going to be beaten. Yeah, I guess again, Buster. So, I look at it like that way. I know it sounds kind of strange, but that's the way I look.
I think a lot of times when you have teams both teams that go to the Super Bowl, they break up. There's in the salary cap era, there's only been two teams that have really been able to put sustainable rosters together. It's Bill Belichick's Patriots and Andy Reid's Chiefs. And you have to have an all-time great quarterback. Because if you have an all-time great quarterback that can do everything you ask and more, then you can just fill out your roster with whoever. And you can when you have a great coach with a great quarterback, you can take average or even below it. You take good players and you make them great. You take average players and you make them good. You take bad players and you make them average. When you have that great 1-2 punch of a great head coach and a great quarterback, because the NFL is a quarterback-driven league, and you've got to have a guy.
Well, wait a minute. What about with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s and the 49ers in the 80s? You won
different league,
like
different league
years.
Because of the way because those teams weren't. You could keep those teams together. You could buy championship. You could pay. You could pay those great players to stay in San Francisco, to stay in Dallas, to stay in Pittsburgh. Now the new look NFL where fans were tired of it being Dallas, San Francisco, and Pittsburgh every year or every other year, because they were the teams with the most money. We wanted to see diversity. We wanted to see parity. We wanted to see other teams have a chance to win it all. We wanted to see Elway get a ring. We wanted to see Favre get a ring. We wanted to see Marino. He never got a ring. He went one time and never made it back. And I think that the fact is that people don't understand how competitive the 1 to 32 is, and how one guy if you take one guy off one team and put him on another team, you can either make both teams better or both teams worse, or one team better, one team worse, and how competitive, because I think it's such a condensed season. I think we get so spoiled with the competitiveness of an NFL regular season. How condensed it is, how few games there are, packed into such a tight window. from September to February. That's all the NFL we get, and then we have to wait 8 months to get more. And so then, and how quickly we go from it's week 1, and we'll turn around and it'll be mid-November, and we're already at week 8. We're at week 10, and now we're starting to see who the better teams are. We'll see if Dallas is really hasn't done what they needed to do. We'll see if the Ravens, with bringing in Derrick Henry, can that make a big difference? Can they be a more run-heavy team? And can Lamar make some better decisions? Because that's been the problem, the bugaboo in Baltimore over the last couple of years is Lamar's decision making. I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. You could be Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, that you can't throw into triple coverage. It doesn't matter. You can't throw into unless you have Megatron out there or Jerry Rice. You can't throw into triple coverage. It doesn't work. And so we have to see Lamar make a huge step forward with his decision making. We've seen how quickly you can take a basement team you can go from cellar to penthouse. Look at Houston last year. Nobody expected they were a 4-13 team going into the year. They won the South. They got themselves a quarterback, and they brought in a new head coach. They changed the culture. Detroit made huge strides last year from a coach that I thought should be fired to a guy that I thought should have won Coach of the Year. How quickly? Because I think because there are a lot of college football fans that aren't NFL fans, but I think that the gulf between college football fan and NFL fan is much wider than the gulf between NFL fan and college fan. I think if you're a fan of the NFL, you're pretty much a college football fan. I think the vast majority of pro football fans are college football fans. And so we watch our favorite college team on Saturday and watch our favorite NFL team on Sunday. And we spend so much time with these kids coming up. We're so plugged in, and we stay plugged in, for 12 months out of the year. Football fans don't take time off. If you're a football fan, you're a football fan all year round.
Yes.
So let me ask you guys something. I know, Bradley, I came on to talk about NFL and this season and stuff. Who do you got winning the AFC? Let's get everybody's opinion. Who do you have winning the AFC? Bradley, I'll start with you.
Oh, come on. It's Kansas City. Come on now.
No, I'm talking about the AFC. I should have said AFC East, your division. This is your division.
The East.
Yes. Yes.
How much it hates me to grind my gears to say this, the Miami Dolphins. It grinds my gears to say the Dolphins. But yes.
Okay. Lewis, who you got?
I had to agree with Bradley, even though it pains me to say it, but I have to go with the Fish.
Okay. And how about you, Adam?
I'm going Buffalo.
So Adam goes Buffalo. So in my predictions this season, I did pick Miami to win that division. So I've got Miami. Now in the AFC South, which is kind of like the Chicago Bears. Everybody's already crowned them the champion. Bradley, who you got in the AFC South? That's
the Houston Texans.
Houston. How about you, Lewis?
Now you did say the AFC South, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, not really, I think the greatest division in the game, but I think I'm gonna go with this be a stretch. Jacksonville.
Okay. And how about you, Adam?
I think top to bottom, that's the most competitive division. I think Houston, Indy, or Jacksonville could win it, but I have that one going to Houston.
All right. So once again, we got 3-1 category. We're all picking Houston to win that division. I agree with Adam when he said that's a very competitive division with Jacksonville too as well. because I mean, there's a lot of pressure in Jacksonville. You know that, Brady, living in Florida.
Yeah.
What happened last year with Doug Peterson and how they had the meltdown there, but a lot of that boiled down to Christian Kirk getting hurt and Trevor getting hurt, and the defense didn't come around, so they made some changements there in Jacksonville, and now Trevor's got to live up to that big contract. Now, if we go to the AFC West, I'm pretty sure we're all going to say Kansas City. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes. And then if we go to the AFC North, the Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, and Browns, the best division in football last year. Who do you got winning that, Bradley?
I'm going to go with Baltimore.
Okay.
I think they'll find a way, but I think it's going to be a 3-team race. I think it's going to be Baltimore, Cincinnati, if Joe can stay healthy, and don't count out Pittsburgh because Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season as a head coach, so don't count them out. Cleveland's the only team that I would question, so I think it'll be a 3-team race.
Okay. And how about you, Lewis?
You know, I agree with Bradley on that. That'd be a 3-team race, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay. And what about you, Adam?
I have the Ravens, but that's because such a hard. Yeah. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Yeah, give me the Ravens in that division.
Okay. So I'm going to agree with Lewis here. I think the Steelers are gonna bounce back because their schedule is very easy the first 9 games of the season. If you look at their schedule, the last 8 games of the season, it's the hardest in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I see they have to establish a game. And the only reason Pittsburgh can win this division is if they sweep Cincinnati. Because if they don't sweep Cincinnati, if they split with Cincinnati, Cincinnati's going to win the division because Cincinnati has the easiest schedule out of all the other 3 competitors. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland have the 3 toughest schedules out of the last 5 teams in the NFL this season. So their schedules are totally brutal this season. So with that being said, we've got Miami, Houston, Kansas City, and I'll just say Baltimore because the majority of America has got Baltimore winning that division. So if you look at your wild card spots, we've got Jacksonville, we got Pittsburgh, and then more than likely it's either going to come down to Cincinnati, Buffalo, the Jets getting that last spot because everybody else seems like they're just playing. I don't expect much from Buffalo this season, but I will say this: I like Josh Allen as a quarterback. If he gets Buffalo into the playoffs, they win that division again, I will be total shocked for what they lost last year or whatever. Now, slipping over to the NFC East, Philadelphia and Dallas and Giants and Washington. How you see that going, Bradley?
I'm going to go Philly. I know their head – I keep reading online that their head coach is on the hot seat. I don't get how he is on the hot seat. You were in the Super Bowl. I don't get that, but I'm going to say Philadelphia.
Okay. How about you, Lewis?
I got to stick with my Cowboys.
Cowboys. Okay. How about you, Adam?
I like Philly in that division. I mean, I can see it going either way. I have Dallas as one. I have whichever team doesn't win that division, I have them as a wild card team. And I think Philly will win the division. I have Dallas as a wild card team at 10-7.
Okay. And then the toughest division in football this season, the NFC North. That's the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears. They are who we thought they are. This is the Bears season now. Everybody's done crowned them just like they crowned the Texans and stuff. So how you see this, Bradley, going?
No, they're wrong. I think it's the Lions. I'm taking
the
Detroit.
Lions. You're taking Detroit. How about you, Lewis?
No question about the Lions. The Bears will be lucky if they win 3 games this year. Forget it. Guys, I think we're on the hook.
How about you, Adam?
I don't think that division. I don't think it's as improved as everyone thinks it is. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. I don't think the Bears have taken as many steps as people like to think they have. Green Bay. Green Bay is still up in the air. I want to see another season from Jordan Love. I know he got hot at the end of the year. He looked good, but and then Minnesota. Minnesota's a mess as far as I can tell. They Sam Darnold is he's an answer, but I don't know what the question was, and so give me Detroit going away. I have the Lions at like 12-5. I think they handily handle that division. I have them 6-0 in the division.
Okay. And then as we go to the NFC West, this is the 49ers, Rams, and the Seahawks and the Cardinals. How about you, Bradley? How you see this one?
San Francisco.
It's like San
No
Francisco.
question.
How about
No
you,
question.
Lewis?
I'm going to go Rams.
You're going Rams. Yeah. There's a lot of people think the Rams are gonna beat them. How about you, Adam?
I have the Niners winning the division, and I have the Rams as my other wild card team, as one of my other wild card teams.
Okay.
I do like what the Niners did to get Brandon Ayuk signed this afternoon. I think I want to see what Brock Purdy looks like with a year of tape on him. I think he took a lot of people by surprise. I think that with a year of film and a whole year to study him, and with them not sneaking up on anybody, I just don't think that division is very competitive. I think that the Rams and the Niners are the only two good teams in that division. I think Seattle takes major steps back, and Arizona will be lucky if they can find a stamp. They say they're going to fall up the stairs.
How do you fall?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. Arizona, as bad as they were last year, they played hard for that coach. That's why I'm referring back to Bradley saying, "Why is the Eagles coach on the hot seat?" Well, he lost his DC and his OC after the Super Bowl, and the OC actually had the Colts one game away from the playoffs, and he had the Cardinals with no Kyler Murray, nothing on offense, and they still competed every game. So that's why I said. And this is another thing I'm going to throw at you here. Don't sleep on the Seattle Seahawks neither. The Pete Carroll era is over. And now you got the kid that was the Baltimore Ravens and the Michigan Wolverines defensive coordinator. Michigan's always had like one of the top defenses in college football. Goes to Baltimore, turns that team into a top defensive team. A team that actually had Brock Purdy throwing 4 interceptions with that Ravens defense when they played them around Christmas time. And actually, Sam Darnold had to come in the ball game for San Francisco in that ball game. So now he's in Seattle, and he's got a blueprint on how you beat the 49ers because he did it with the Ravens too as well. So, and then, you still got DK Metcalf, and you got Lockett, who's a little bit older, but they got Jackson, the kid from Ohio State, receiving the ball. And, it all boils down to Geno Smith. Is he going to be the Geno Smith? 3 years ago, that's what it boils down to. And the thing about Geno Smith is that I went and saw him play last year against Cincinnati, a game that they should have won, but he made so many mistakes, so many open receivers, just so many mistakes. So unless he, the same thing's going to be said for Baker this year. Baker, he lost Dave Canales. Dave Canales was with Geno when Geno had his great season. Now Canales was with the Baker, and now Canales has left him. So now we're going to see really if Baker is going to be able to work with this guy as the OC this season. So that leads me into the NFC South. Bradley, who you got winning this division?
Everybody likes the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know why. You have a quarterback who is coming off of a serious injury. He's upset that they drafted, it could be his heir apparent. It's got to be Tampa Bay again. And the funny thing is, I think Buc Flair, I think Liam Cohen, is going to do better with Baker. I think the offense is going to be better. The running game is going to be better this year, which that hasn't been anything for the Bucs the last few years. This year, with White and Bucky Brooks and Sean Tucker, I think is the other kid that they were talking about during the preseason. The Bucs will win. They may lose one game to Atlanta. That might be the only division game they lose. The Saints, no, and Carolina's God, they're a mess. Their ownership is one of the worst owners in all of sports is in Carolina. So Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree with that. How about you, Lewis?
Yes, well, I'll put it this way: the Falcons, I think, are going to improve. Yes, are they going to be up to win the division? Probably not. So I'm going to go with Tampa, but I do think Atlanta should be improved this year. But it's amazing how they have never even come close to getting back to a Super Bowl since losing the Super Bowl in the ultimate choke game of all time.
I appreciate that comment. I like that comment. I see
What
Adam
the
must
choke?
have went to the. There he is. Adam, who you see winning that NFC South division?
I think it's the hardest division in football to call. Like
Mhm.
it comes down to Atlanta and Tampa, and I think whoever gets the better of those two. I'm gonna say Atlanta, but it could very easily go to Tampa Bay. I think
Okay.
it comes down to whoever gets the better of those two in there.
Well, here's the good news for these Falcons fans. They have the easiest schedule in football this year. The easiest schedule in football belong to the Atlanta Falcons and stuff. So they're pretty much and the funny thing about it, when I reviewed the whole schedule, the Falcons play the Saints, the Bucks, and I think Carolina 5 times in the first 8 or 9 games. So their fate could be either set early in the season or because I think they play Carolina the last game of the season, I think is who it is, or maybe in New Orleans, but they play Tampa early, and that's the two teams we're sitting here talking about it. They play, we're going to play each other early, and then we're not going to have a chance to catch up, or they're not going to have a chance to catch up. But the Falcons, another thing about the schedule that was weird this season is the Eagles. The Eagles host 4 home games in a row. Towards the end of the year. Pretty much they're at home 4 straight times in December, I believe. They're going to be home. And the Cowboys have a little advantage too as well. Coming up to Thanksgiving, I think they have a 3 or 4 game stretch where, they get
Nice.
the Thanksgiving game, then they get another week off before they play again, and then they get, before the. But, the Cowboys season is going to actually come down to that 49ers game because, every year Jerry Jones wants to beat the 49ers, and they got to play San Francisco in San Francisco again. And if they lose that ball game, it'll be the same old Cowboys, and we'll probably see a lot of heads hanging down on the field and stuff. But so basically, we've got Philadelphia winning that division. We've got Detroit winning that division. Tampa winning that division, and the Detroit Lions winning their division. So as a wild card spot, I know you mentioned you had Dallas and the Rams. I actually I like Green Bay. I do like Atlanta because of their easy schedule. I think Atlanta can get in there with their easy schedule. I'm
Uh-huh.
still debating about Seattle and the Bears, the Vikings, because the Vikings, whether you like it or not, they have a good defense and they got the best offensive player in the NFL. So if you can't stop them, it's like having Randy Moss. You know what I mean? Randy Moss went to New England one season, but he had the greatest quarterback of all time, and then he goes to the Raiders, and he doesn't do nothing, and his career pretty much flounders after that. So I'm interested to see how this whole Minnesota thing comes together. The Bears have a ton of talent, great defense, coaches' jobs on the line. I do not particularly like Caleb Williams myself, but
Yeah.
when CJ Stroud was able to do what Caleb's hoping to do, come into the NFL, and the Texans have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL too this season. So if you
Mhm.
think about Super Bowls here, Bradley, you done just mentioned your pick already. Kansas City. You just
Yeah.
threw that already. Who you got representing the NFC then?
The Detroit Lions.
Oh, okay. Kansas City and Detroit. They played this preseason again, and Detroit beat them again in preseason on the last second field goal. They beat them the first game of the season last year. All right, Lewis, who you got?
Wait, repeat that again.
Your Super Bowl pick. Who you got in Super Bowl pick?
Oof. Oh boy, that's gonna be a tough one. All right, I'm gonna go with the Lions for the NFC because I think this is gonna be a revenge year. Making for what they messed up in the AFC Championship game. Ah, for the AFC, ooh, I'm gonna go on a limb here, even though I can't stand him, but I'm gonna say the Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay. All right, Adam.
Well, I have Detroit over San Francisco in the NFC Championship game, and it's a home playoff game in Detroit, and that barn will be a rockin'. And I have Kansas City over Houston in the AFC Championship game, home playoff game in Arrowhead for the KC Chiefs, and I have Detroit over Kansas City.
Oh wow! So we got a Detroit and Kansas City twice matchup, and we got a Miami
Okay.
and Detroit matchup. Is that what Lewis said? Miami and Detroit.
I did.
Yep. So
Where is the Super Bowl this year? I don't know offhand.
it's in New Orleans. It's in New Orleans this year.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Detroit has 11.
I'm gonna go out. My first early prediction was Cincinnati and Philadelphia, just because of Joe Burrow and they played in the Super Bowl previously and stuff like that. But now, as I look at the schedule and I kept reviewing what's going down and everything like this and what can happen here, I'm actually going to throw out Miami at San Francisco. Mike McDaniel and Cal Shanahan, barn burner with the two coaches that used to, be with each other and taking their teams down there to New Orleans, playing indoors. Could help Miami there too as well. So, and it all boils down to Miami's. It all boils down to Miami's defense. I do think they have a great passing defense, but I'm still kind of wondering about Mike Tomlin and those Steelers. Boy, they have really got me shaking my head now. I mean, with Russell Wilson there, I'm not gonna say Russell's not Russell anymore because what he did in Denver was actually pretty damn good. It's just the fact that I'm not a big Sean
They were
Payton.
so damn bad.
I'm not a big Sean Payton fan, so I think he's actually burned his bridges pretty good. But if Walmart wants to pay him $21 million to be the head coach, let Walmart continue to do that. That's good for his consumers. We get lower prices as they pay Sean Payton that kind of money, and lower prices at Walmart now. So keep paying him, and they'll have to keep getting people to come in there and shop as long as he's the head coach there in Denver. And those fans in Denver are not going to be happy if Russell Wilson takes the Steelers to the playoffs. This is a situation here where we got a Super Bowl coach, and Tony Dungy fell in the same category. Tony Dungy said he could never win without a quarterback. And Trent Dilfer was the quarterback for Tampa Bay those first few years. Trent Dilfer leaves Tampa Bay, goes to Baltimore, and Baltimore wins a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. The next year, Tony Dungy's fired. And lo and behold, Tony Dungy ends up with Peyton Manning, and he's able to get one Super Bowl ring with Peyton Manning. Nobody talks about the Colts defense. They always talk about Peyton Manning in office, but Tony Dungy was a great defensive mind. But if you think back the year the Colts did win the Super Bowl, the defense became healthy at the end with Bob Sanders and them, and their defense was very, very good for that Colts team to win the Super Bowl. The only thing they made a mistake on is they kicked the ball to Devin Hester at the beginning of the ball game. That was about the only thing the Bears did good that Super Bowl. And it was raining. It was nasty weather. And I'm happy Peyton got the ring. I'm happy Tony Dungy got the ring. But, yeah, so it's going to be an interesting season. I think everybody's rooting against Kansas City. This is kind of like, reminds me when New England won back-to-back, and everybody was hoping that they would not win the next season. They didn't. I mean, think about the teams that won back-to-back. Green Bay's won back-to-back. Pittsburgh's won back-to-back twice. San Francisco won back-to-back. Dallas won back-to-back. And what's that?
Denver won back-to-back.
Denver won back-to-back.
The years with John Elway.
Yep, Denver won back-to-back.
97-98.
Yep, that was and then like I said, the Patriots got that back-to-back win there. against the Eagles and the Panthers. I think that's the last time it was done besides Kansas City doing it this past time. So
that I would say the play that made me an NFL football fan was John Elway helicoptering through the air for a first down. That was the moment I fell in love with NFL football.
Buc Flair.
The catch.
John Elway able to win those 2 Super Bowls elevated him into the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. So, I was always a big Favre over Elway, but I think when Elway won those 2 Super Bowls and the way Elway carried himself, people fail to realize he been in the Super Bowl 5 times. Elway has. He lost 3 of them early in his career.
No,
they never get. They got killed by the 49ers and stuff, the greatest team to ever live that season when they beat them 55-10. And, it felt bad for Elway in that Super Bowl. But you mentioned Dan Marino. Dan Marino in his second season went to the Super Bowl, and he got beat by Joe Montana. And that's one reason why I always laugh at these guys when they say Marino was a better quarterback than Joe Montana. And I'm just like, well, I said, yeah, he did win some games. He did win some games. Maybe athletically he had a chance to do it, but when it came to the mentally and having the mindset to win, Joe Montana he's still up there as the many people still got him number 2, like myself, as the greatest quarterback. I still got Brady 1, Montana 2, and Manning 3 is the way I got mine written right there. So
I think that Marino is the greatest pure passer of all time. From a standpoint of mechanics, the ability to get the ball out on time and on target, I don't think there's been a better quarterback in the history of the league. To be able to hit his three steps, 3-5-7, and bang, balls out, bang, balls out, bang, balls out, and it's out and it's on time and it's on target. There's just never been a guy mechanically more sound than Dan Marino. I think the problem for Marino in Miami is that the glory days in Miami were Don Shula's glory days were far and in the rearview mirror by the time Marino gets there, and Marino revitalizes Don Shula's career, and then he keeps him around an extra 13 years.
Well, they didn't have a running game, man. They didn't have a defense. I mean, it was all Marino. They won the division. I mean, they were always in the playoffs. I mean, you got to give them that credit. I mean, you got to give them that credit. But still, I mean, when it comes to putting you over the hump, Marino was never the guy to. I mean, I remember Marino's last game when he got beat 63-7 or something like that. Jimmy Johnson was quarterback. Jimmy Johnson was his coach then, and they got slaughtered 62-7. And I just remember I said, what an embarrassment walking off the field. The Jaguars beat your butt. Jimmy Johnson and Dan Marino. So, yeah, I mean, he had his chances, and Don Shula, just never got him a defense. And then the running game, you never heard much about the running game there. It was always the Mark Duper and Clayton and everything like that. And still one of the greatest game of all time when they played the Chargers in playoffs. And that was a hell of a, and that's when Don Strock was actually the quarterback for Miami. But that was a hell of a game. That was a shootout game back in the 80s.
Look, I have a question. I got a question for you about the Ring of Honor for our Buccaneers. Oh. We just lost Monty Kiffin, which was a big loss. Speaking of defensive minds, I don't think there was one better than him with the Tampa 2, and him and Tony Dungy put that together. Can somebody tell me why James Wilder is not in the Ring of Honor? I wrote an article about that. I don't know why he's not in there yet. Because Jimmy Giles and Paul Gruber are both in there, and those were his teammates. Well, how is he not in there? And then your head coach and McKay, Rick McKay's in there too. Or is it John McKay? I get them mixed. I think it's Sean McKay. I get them mixed up.
John McKay, yeah. Rich McKay is yeah.
How is Wilder not in there? amongst those three, the other three?
Yeah, I think the answer to that, why is Roger Craig not in the Hall of Fame? That's why. That's exactly what I'm.
Yeah,
it's a very
Why is
good
Roger
question.
Craig not in the Hall of Fame? So
Right.
I've been a big proponent of this past Hall of Fame class that got in. Not to say they wasn't great players, but this is probably the weakest Hall of Fame class to get into the Hall of Fame. And if they're going to continue to just put players into the Hall of Fame, we've got to have 7, we got to have 5. It's the same thing with the Ring of Honor with every team. They're going to honor Nick Foles in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? They're going for just that one Super Bowl ring. They're going to honor him this season. Nick Foles. James Wilder to me was good on a bad football team. He carried the ball 300, 400 times a ball game, pitch back left, pitch back right, and he played, and he's still probably up there as the top running back, receiving and rushing yards for Tampa Bay. Now, the only thing I could see there would be, will he make it in the future? Possibly. I mean, they took down John Gruden. They opened up a spot for him. They had John Gruden up there, and they took that down. The sad thing is that it's going to be is, why is Tom Brady not on the Ring of Honor? That's going to be the next thing coming up. So, we're going to see Tom Brady in 2 stadiums across the league. We're going to see him in New England. We're going to see him in Tampa. I think they're going to probably put Tom Brady up there in the Ring of Honor. I know Levante David, Mike Evans is going to be up there, but I agree.
Mike Evans.
I always wondered about James Wilder, why he was not in the Hall of Fame or the Ring of Honor.
And I think Gerald McCoy will be up there soon too. I think McCoy had huge shoes to fill with Warren Sapp, and you can't tell me that those two were on the different end of the spectrum. Gerald McCoy
we had this conversation in the Bucs group, and I was the only one that did not agree with that, because I said, you know what, Gerald McCoy, he was hurt. He did have some sacks there at the defensive tackle, but he went and signed with Carolina, which made me even hate him more when he did that. It's the same thing of Hardy Nickerson. Hardy Nickerson's not. I think Hardy Nickerson, the greatest linebacker that the Bucs ever had before Derek Brooks came along, and he goes and signs with the Green Bay Packers after he leaves us. And so when you do those kind of things, you kind of have an ill fate. We're fans of our team, not the players as much. If Mike Evans would have left Tampa Bay and signed with Kansas City, I would have been like probably throwing up over here in my chair right now talking to you, knowing that he's playing with Patrick Mahomes and stuff. So I was about ready to kill me, because he's my favorite player in the NFL right now. Besides Justin Jefferson, I got Justin Jefferson up there in my top 2 players as far as I like to see play the football game. But yeah, that's a good question. Maybe you have to put out a poll and say James Wilder, and you know what you're going to get? You're going to get 90% of the country not even know who James Wilder is.
Right.
True. Well, and I have to ask this question too. Will Gene Deckeroff ever be in the Ring of Honor? I can't see him not being. I know he's not a player or a coach or a GM, but how does he not go in there, being he's been the voice of the Buccaneers since it all started? Yeah. I cannot see him not being in the Ring of Honor one of these days.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for that guy. Yeah, he's going to be in there. Yeah, he's going to be in there. Yeah, he'll be there. I mean, I think he just announced that this might be his last season doing it. Because there was rumors that he was going to step down this year, but he's coming back to call another season with him. So, it's like Adam says. What happens to these guys when they retire? They don't know what to do because they've been on the radio or calling games for all these long. It's the same thing with these guys as it is with players and stuff like that. One thing that got me today was, you guys mentioned the Lions. The Lions have got 3 guys on the practice squad that could be playing in the NFL. If you guys didn't know
who's that?
They got Allen Robinson as a wide receiver. They picked him up. He's on the practice squad. Let me see what I had in my notes here. I was like, they got 3 wide receivers. I was like,
that Lions are going to be a scary team this year.
I was going over my practice team pickups and stuff today, and Donovan People-Jones, Allen Robinson, and Tim Patrick. They got 3 guys right there that have started in the NFL on the practice squad. So you talk about reloading depth right there. That's a lot of good depth right there. And I think Jalen Rager's with the Patriots, by the way, Bradley.
Yeah.
Gerard Mayo, again, just like Belichick's leaving, Gerard Mayo is going to have it tough, and they're a young team. And again, the dynasty for 20 years is gone. The Patriots were the most hated team in the NFL for 20 years, and now they're going to be on the bottom for a while until they can get things straightened out. I think they will, because now they have a GM that's going to, that's the thing with Belichick, and a lot of people don't know that the guy couldn't draft. I mean, they had terrible draft classes for the Patriots. A lot of their
Yes.
draft picks didn't work out. And, I think Gerard Mayo will do a better job. The GM will help him get the players that he wants. It's just going to take a little while for him to get it back. But then you flip it on the other side and you talk about the Bucks. Jason Light, I don't know, did all 7 draft picks make the team? Did he get all 7? They made the 53-man roster.
I think. Well, we didn't have 7 picks. I know we didn't have 7 picks, but I know Devin Culp made the team as a seventh round tight end. I do know that.
So then every pick this year,
pretty much.
The Bucks made the team.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, they're still a young team defensively and stuff like that. Yaya Diaby kind of put his name on the map last year, but he's been injured. So I'm hoping he gets well, because he's our pass rusher as far as that goes. But the Green Bay Packers are still a young team, man. I'm not a big Jordan Love fan. I keep waiting for him to show us the real Jordan Love, and if you put pressure on him, I think he, you saw in that game against San Francisco when he had a chance to drive him down for the late, and they put pressure on him, and he made stupid quarterback plays, rolling and trying to make something happen or whatever. So I'm still not a big fan of Jordan Love, but I am a fan of the talent that they have over there at wide receiver. They got a lot of good wide, and their defenses. I'm a defensive guy. Being a Bucs fan, you got to be a defensive guy. I look at your team, the Patriots. One thing I'm happy about the Patriots is they got defense. They're gonna win some games. They're gonna surprise some people because they got defense. I can't say that about Miami. I can't say that about Buffalo. I can say that about the Jets, but they lost a lot of people. They lost a lot of pieces last year.
Yeah, they sure did.
So I mean, we got one back in Tampa. We got Jerome Whitehead back from the Jets to play safety with Antoine or whatever. I mean, Pittsburgh, Baltimore.
Got rid of the cancer.
Cincinnati and Cleveland. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. All 4 of those teams have got defenses. They've all got defenses. Houston, I'm still kind of skeptical on, because they lost 2 of those guys, 2 of those pieces to Minnesota. So they went over to Minnesota. Cashman and Grignard, they went over there. So I'm interested to see how they gel. Jacksonville's got some pieces. The Colts are a team. And Tennessee has the secondary. They got Snead now and stuff like that. So they got the secondary build up, but and they got the defensive tackle, so they got defenses. But Kansas City,
they don't have an offense.
Football last year, they're pretty much all back except for Snead. The Raiders have got a good defense, believe it or not. The Raiders are going to win some games because of their defense. The Chargers are just on probation. Just put them on probation, like Michigan. Chargers are on probation this year. We don't care what the Chargers do. They can win 3 games and still going to be 0-17 in my book because of what Harbaugh did to Michigan. And then Denver has a good defense as well, but the problem is Denver they got a terrible head coach that's not relating to these kind of players nowadays. So the same thing happens when these coaches that coach do not relate to these younger players. And so Dallas has a good defense. The Eagles, I'm still questioning about the Eagles. I don't know what kind of defense the Eagles are going to have.
They Giants, got the cancer from the Buccaneers. Devin White was a cancer, so now he's in Philadelphia.
The Giants have probably one of the best defenses that nobody talks about because of their linebacker crew. You got Burns, you got Thibodeau, you got Banks as a cornerback. So the Giants can win games. The problem is you got a guy who they're not going to protect him. The O-line, they just lost 2 more O-linemen We don't know if they're done for the season or not. Their center and their right tackle, they got injured the last game, and so now Danny Jones looked like crap in the preseason game, threw 2 interceptions, 2 picks or whatever. So and then Washington, they're going to have a good defense because Quinn's there, so they're going to have a good defense. Detroit's got a good defense. They went out and got some players to do things. Green Bay's got a good defense. The Bears got a good defense, and Minnesota's got a good defense because of Flores. I mean, what he did for them is a good defense. Tampa's got a good defense. The Saints have a great defense. People don't talk about the Saints, but their defense is great. They might be a little bit older, but they still got the talent on the defense to win. The Falcons have put a team together on defense. I don't know how these guys are going to play together. You know what? I do not know how the Falcons and the Panthers are a mess. They lost the entire defensive side. They're just a mess. You might as well put them with the Chargers and the Broncos, you know what I mean? And then you got the 49ers got a great defense. Now that they got their safety guy coming back with the long hair, looking like Troy Polamalu back there. I can't pronounce his name. Hufalaga or whatever his name. Yeah, you got him coming back, and then you got
that's the shampoo. That's the shampoo. Okay.
Yeah. The Rams have got a good defense, believe it or not. The Rams have a running game. People don't realize the Rams have a running game. They have a good defense. They have a running game. They got Sean McVay, and so don't be surprised if they do.
Stafford to be healthy.
Stafford's got to be healthy, but they got Jimmy G. We just talked about him about quarterbacks going back to the Super Bowls. They got Jimmy G backing him up now. So then you got Seattle's got a good defense because they got a good defensive mind coach, and they had a good defense 2 years ago. For some reason, they just didn't play last year. And then the Cardinals. Cardinals got a defensive coach too as well. They've got some players in place too as well. So there's some teams out there that have a good defense. That's what makes the NFL so fun, is because you got guys on defense that can actually win ball games for you, or teams that can win ball games for you. And that's why this league is so good. But I will say this. The salary cap is in place for a reason. That's why teams' parity is in place. I don't want us to turn into the NBA, because all this TV money is coming into the NFL right now. This is why we're seeing these skyrocketing inflations of salaries right now, because you remember during COVID, the NFL salary cap dropped over $40-something million. It went under $200 million the year of COVID because the fans are not coming to the game. Fans are not watching the game. If something majorly happens, the same thing in the NBA. The problem with the NBA is that they have so much money worldwide. But America is a football nation, pretty much. This is why it hurts us as fans, because of the TV money. You got to get like Paramount, Peacock, Netflix, YouTube. All these different networks now are asking you to prescribe if you want to watch a ball game. You know what I mean? So it's kind of unfair for us. But with all that TV revenue coming into the NFL, this is why you're seeing salaries just skyrocketing up. There's no reason why a wide receiver should be making as much money as they are today compared to the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback is who you have to pay. Bottom line, if you don't have a quarterback, like you said, Adam, earlier, you're not going to win in this league if you don't have a quarterback. Period. You got to pay your quarterback. You got to have your quarterback.
Well, I think the money that's going out right now, that makes it fun. I mean, that's part of the game. As part of the deal is the ability, because the year-to-year revenue increases will, at a certain point, let's say 2027, just a ballpark number. By 2027, I think you'll probably see about 330, 340, 350 per team. And if everybody's contracts are going to continue to go up, it's going to be the ability. It's going to come down to the GM and the coaches that are able to make to play the game right in how they structure contracts, and the guys that they can get to come play ball and literally play ball with the contracts. And so I think parity, because like we were talking earlier, you look back at the 60s and you had Lombardi's Packers, who their big competition was with Johnny Unitas, and they crushed him. And then you had the 70s Steelers and the 70s Cowboys. They battled each other. And in the 80s, it was all the Niners. and the '90s was the Cowboys, and then from the '90s till from '95, Dallas's last Super Bowl, you've had two teams win back-to-back Super Bowls. In the first 30 years of the Super Bowl, you had four teams win at least four Super Bowls, and now you've had two teams win four Super Bowls. And the fact of the matter is that the talent has been spread out through the league. The money has been spread out through the league. Every team has money to spend, and they're willing, and they've got to be willing to spend it. You don't have that problem like you have in the NBA and the MLB, where only three organizations have all the money to spend. Every organization's got money to spend, and they have to spend it. You have to be at the cap. If you want to be competitive in this league, you've got to be at the cap. You can't be a poverty franchise in the NFL and be competitive. If you're a cheap owner, cheap owners will not compete in the modern NFL. You're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay your wide receiver number one money. You're going to have to pay your linebackers number one money. You're going to have to pay your left tackle number one money. You're going to have to pay your quarterback number one money. The only position that's getting left out in the cold is the RB1, because running backs have such a short shelf life, 3.5 to 5 good years, and they're done. One contract and they're done. And by the time you get to that first contract, you got so many kids coming up from college that are ready to go day one. So there's the impetus on the second contract for a running back, a big money contract. Big boy contracts for running backs that's the only market that has gone down consistently since '95. But every other major position in professional football, the contracts have gone up and year on year, and the best players.
Talk about competition. Which era do you think is the best NFL ever was? Which era do you think?
Right now.
Huh?
Right now.
No.
Bar none. Right now. Yes. It's the most competitive.
Which era do you think was the best in the NFL? Do you think it was the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, or 2010, or 2020?
I think I'm going to agree with Adam. I think it's now, because the league is more. You have more parity. You can go back through the decades and say one team dominated. The Cowboys in the 90s, the Niners in the 80s, the Steelers in the 70s. You can go back and say that. Yeah. I mean, other than maybe the Patriots and now the Chiefs, there's a lot of parity. And then, like, you were talking earlier about the Lions. Well, the Lions have been, I watched the Barry Sanders thing on Netflix. And, he left when he felt like it was time for him to go. But I'm happy to see them back. I'm happy to see them back in contention. Again, at the end of the day, your team can be crappy, but it won't be crappy forever. It just doesn't work that way. And I think in the NBA, there are teams that will be crappy forever because no free agent's going to want to go there. And as far as the MLB goes, there's no salary cap, and there will never be a salary cap in Major League Baseball because of the MLPA. They'll never approve that because they're Otani's making over $100 million a year. Judge is due to me. They're not going to come up with a salary cap in baseball. There should be a salary floor in baseball for ownership.
So right now you're saying right now is the best in football right now, and the Chiefs are going to go on probably and win their third straight Super Bowl. And parity's just a great thing if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl 3 straight years in a row.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
I'll stand by that.
I'm going to go back. Yes. I'm going to say my favorite time of any NFL season was the 80s, period. Yes. Bottom line, the greatest team to ever play the game. There's so many that I can name. The Washington Redskins, the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, the San Francisco 49ers. No, you can't say the Bears 1 year. The Bears.
Yeah, 1 year. 185. Only good year they had. Only good year the Bears had.
They made the playoffs. They were in the playoffs, and they got beat by either San Francisco, Washington, or the Giants. People forget about the Giants. I mean, the Giants defense, the Bears defense, the Washington defense, the Dallas Cowboys couldn't compete, and they had all the money. They couldn't compete because teams were better. All those teams were better. The Rams had a good team. The Rams were better. There was a lot of good teams in that.
Didn't win anything.
That was era. That was good football. And every time they faced the AFC, they destroyed them. They destroyed the AFC teams. Teams like the Denver Broncos. Teams like the oh gosh, who else was in that era for the AFC? You know, the Buffalo Bills in the 90s, but that was later on. But in the 80s, you don't even think about. You had Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. There was a team for you that was there. You had New England that was bouncing back. You know, New England made the Super Bowl. You talk about parity. You know, you talk about Seattle. Seattle played, I think, Miami to go to the Super Bowl one year. Yeah, there was parity maybe in the.
You got blitzed that game.
Huh? What's that?
They got blitzed in that game. They got blitzed in that game, didn't they?
Yeah. So, but to me, you know, you had guys. I mean, the Raiders. There you go. The Raiders. You know, with Marcus Allen. You know, Marcus Allen and Jim Plunkett. They put out some miracle seasons there. People don't realize how Jim Plunkett revives his career and the Raiders, and they won 2 Super Bowls. They beat the living crap out of Washington in that Super Bowl. Everybody thought Washington was going to beat them. They're the only low market team to ever win the Super Bowl has been the St. Louis Rams with Kurt Warner. That year they went from last to first. That's the only low budgeted team that I could think that win the Super Bowl is the St. Louis Rams. And then they moved out of there. You know, they moved to LA because they couldn't support the market or whatever, but they were able to do it. So if in the next 5 years, if a team like say Jacksonville wins a Super Bowl, and maybe you could talk about this being a great area, but
it's the best era. It's the most competitive football we've ever had, bar none. The players now are so much more talented and competitive than they've ever been across the league. You don't have you talk about the 80s. You talk about San Francisco won 4, Oakland won 2, the Bears won 1. That's it. You have 2 teams that win all the games and all the championships. And you say the Chiefs win 3 in a row. Okay. They're the best team of this era. But that doesn't mean that the football, you know, you have Detroit and Atlanta and Tampa Bay, that every team from the top to the bottom, say maybe San Francisco and Denver, are talented and capable, just as capable of any other team of winning it all. The from top to bottom, from start to finish, from first to 32nd, except for the most god awful teams, are just as capable of winning it all this year as they've ever been able to. Look at the top. Look at all the great quarterbacks, all the great receivers, all the great running backs that are in the league now, all the great defensive players that are in the league, and it's spread out across the league. Well, we're the only team that's been able to be a top 5 team year on year is Kansas City, and every other division is super competitive. Every other division is up for grabs. Washington can make noise. You know, you say that New York's got a great defense. They can make noise. I mean, you say the Raiders are going to shock people and steal a couple of games because they have a great defense. I mean, you said that to me is the mark of a great era, is the fact that every team on any given Sunday can win and can beat the best teams in the league. And the only thing that separated the Kansas City Chiefs from the rest of the league last year was Patrick Mahomes. And if Mahomes was on any other team, he would do the same thing there. I mean, the fact is that from Kansas City may be the best team in the league, but they're not by far and away the best team in the league. Like you had every year, you know, we knew who the best team in the league was in the 90s, in the 2010s, in the 2000s.
You know why? Because they were loyal to their teams. They stayed there. They didn't have the free agency market out there where teams were willing to shell out big money. They'd rather stay there and play or whatever. That's why I'm saying I will remember the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, and people think about, okay, who was on that team? Okay, Philadelphia Eagles just went back to the Super Bowl. Oh, who's on that team? Oh, but when I think about Washington winning 3 Super Bowls, I think about them doing it with 3 different quarterbacks. Yes. And I think about 49ers winning. They won 4 with Montana and 1 with Young, but they pretty much had the same nucleus of players on the team. When I think about the Giants, Lawrence Taylor, they still had Phil Simms, and then they had Hostetler at quarterback or whatever. That's the same defensive team. It's the same Chicago Bears, greatest defense of all time, 1 year only. But guess what? They stayed together. They played together. They made the playoffs. They just couldn't beat the other teams, the other competitions and stuff like that. You mentioned Dan Marino. Dan Marino, he could have left. He could have went somewhere, but he stayed in Miami because he was Miami. So he stayed there or whatever. You know, you don't have the bouncing around, the I want money, the little divas saying all this stuff started with T.O., Chad Ochocinco, Antonio Brown. All that stuff happened, and the owners turned into like, okay.
Yeah, billionaires bitching, the millionaires making too much money.
Same thing happened in the NBA when the ownership went to the players got to dictate more than the owners did and stuff like that. Now the owners have to just be loving it because they're getting all this worldwide money coming in from the TV rights. So the owners don't give a crap about it. And the players, you cannot tell me to play basketball, a guy needs to make $63 million a year to play basketball. You cannot tell me that. It's just ungodly that a player would make 6. What's next? Are they going to be making $100 million in the NBA? Who knows? They might be doing that.
Steph just signed an extension today for $62 million with the Warriors.
See there?
Just signed it today.
That's what the market. That's what the market supports.
You know what I mean? So yeah, okay, yeah. The economy is really good out there. That's what the market is. It's all about TV money and people watching it on TV.
That's what the market supports.
I'm gonna go buy a New York strip down the street here, and it's gonna cost me $32 for one strip, and that's at the grocery store. If I go out to a restaurant, it's gonna cost me $65 to eat a New York strip. So yeah, but it's fair for all these players and all these big owners and stuff to pay these players all this kind of money, and they're not gonna. You know, they do by the salary cap. The NFL does by the salary cap, and if they're gonna make their money, it's just gonna come back to bite them. Because now, this is what I'm predicting right now. Now Jamar Chase, now CD Lamb, they're all saying, "Oh,
CD Lamb just got signed.
I'm gonna break the 4-year agreement thing now that the NFL had in place. You have a 4-year agreement, and then you can do a sign for the 5th year. Well, now they're breaking the 3-year agreement when they could play 4 years, and then they could have their little attitude. But now they're doing the 3-year and having their attitude after playing only 3 years. So you see watch what happens now. The same thing with the running back. You're right about the running back. They're burned out after 5 years. Usually they're pretty much toast. If they're the main back in the league, they're pretty much toast. There's no reason why a running back is going to make a lot of money nowadays, because there's so many kids in college that come out and replace your butt. You know, the greatest thing the Minnesota Vikings ever did was not sign Dalvin Cook. Look where he's at right now. He went to the Jets. They thought he was going to be something. They cut him, went to the Ravens. Now the Cowboys have picked him up on the practice squad, and he was getting ready to he was going to get Christian McCaffrey type money that season he had with Kirk Cousins, and he was going to get 14. You know, he wanted $14 million a year to play there. You know what? So all that stuff didn't. It all basically boils down to, I learned a long time ago, as fans, we don't pay the players, the owners do. Why do we get so upset over it? Well, we get upset over it because the amount of money that they're paying the players is ruining the league.
How?
How?
Yeah, how?
How is it ruining the league? Because it's greed. It's greed.
How? No, it's not.
You cannot tell me. You cannot tell me a person living in today's world needs $60 million a year to live on as a football player who plays 16 games a
Yes.
season. 16 games a
Yes.
season. A baseball player can make $30 million a year, and he plays 162 games a season.
Not in. There's not this. The market does not support.
You know what I mean? So to
It's
me,
the market. It's the market.
It's the market.
That is what the market will support.
Have you watched the stock market? Have you watched the stock market over the last month or so? How it's been crashing over the last month?
What does the stock market have to do with anything? Stock market is not. It's not relevant. It's not relevant to the conversation.
You watch what happens in the stadiums coming up soon. It's going to be all about. It's all about TV money, and TV has the money to do this. TV's the one driving up the money. TV's the one driving up.
That's what the market will support. The TV revenue year on year has gone up, and so the players generate the revenue for the league. If the players weren't there, no one would watch.
And Bradley can tell
the players generate the league.
Bradley can tell you when the Bucks are bad, the stadium is bad. When the Bucks are bad, they will put 20,000 fans in that stadium. The Panthers last year,
the stadiums
10,000, but they can pay people. They can pay their players $20 million a year to play, but you got 14,000 people in the stands. That's where I'm getting at.
Not a good sign.
I would rather have my players playing hard football for the fans in the game, love the game, than sitting there and saying I got a diva on my team that wants to make $40 million. We're going to lose them next season.
That's what the market supports. That is what the competitive players in the league command that money. It's not about being a diva or not being a diva. It's about what the market supports. The TV revenue year on year has increased dramatically in the last 20 years. And that is what.
How much money? Who's the highest richest owner in the NFL?
Washington just sold last year for $6.8 billion.
No, I'm talking about who's the richest owner in the NFL.
Jerry Jones. Has to be.
No.
I would think.
No.
Washington just sold for $6.08 billion last year. The group that brought the Washington Redskins.
David Commanders. From Carolina Panthers.
Oh yeah.
Is worth over $20-something billion. The guy that owns the Raiders, he's worth barely $1 billion. That's the point I'm getting at. That's the point I'm getting at.
I don't understand what you're. I don't know what.
You continue to push these salaries out, and you got an owner that is only worth $1 billion. Hello, Mr. $25 billion owner over here.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
I'm losing money as the salary cap. If the salary cap, like you just said, in 2027 goes up to $350 or $400 million, and you got an owner that's only worth $1 billion, we've got actually several of them that are not worth.
That's not how that works.
I do not want it to be like baseball was in the 20s, where only the three teams like the Yankees and them were competing because the owners were so wealthy. I don't want it to be like that. But I see
that's not how that works.
The Walmart owners, they make money. And guess what? Denver sucks and Carolina sucks. And they're just sitting there. Hey, I got a shitty team. I got a shitty team. Why should I, get a good team? I'm worth $27 billion, and these people are still coming out here and supporting our teams and stuff like that.
Well, you just said that they weren't supporting the team.
Yeah, but they're supporting their team, but the Glazers, you know what I mean? So, yeah, the Glazers had the Manchester United, and they did all this stuff, and now they've sold it. Now they moved on and stuff, and now, we got investment into the Bucks again. I mean, to me, you could say the market, but you watch what happens in the stadiums the next few years.
That doesn't matter because that's not where the revenue is generated. You just said it's on TV. You literally just said it was all from TV. That doesn't, so that the stadium is half empty, it doesn't matter. If they're generating revenue, if the TV is what's driving the market, and it's the TV revenue that's driving the market that is split amongst the 32 ownership groups, and they can create revenues from other streams than besides filling the stands, then it doesn't matter whether they fill the stands.
So if you're an owner,
the thing is,
you're an owner and you're worth about $1 to $5 billion, and you see this happening, do you think you would sell out to another owner that's worth about 20-something billion dollars?
If I wanted out, if I'm Mark Davis and in 2027 the salary cap goes up to $400 million and I just don't want to deal with it anymore, then yeah, I'd put the team up for sale. And probably if Washington in 2023 got $6.08 billion in 2028, if I'm looking to sell, I'm probably going to ask for $10 billion, if not 12. I mean, if that's not because the TV money, Mark Davis individually is worth $1 billion. How much are the Raiders worth? And what have the Raiders? Because the TV revenue is split equally amongst the 32 teams. So that money that is being generated from from that TV revenue goes out to all of the teams. So it doesn't matter what an individual owner makes, it's what the league generates. It's how much money the league generates. That's what drives the salary cap up. It doesn't matter if Carolina has a bad ownership group or a bad owner, then the other owners in the league need to get together, and just like they did with the original guys that owned the Houston Texans, they need to get a ride together. If Carolina or Denver or the Chargers, the LA, if they're dragging the league down, if they're uncompetitive, and they're going to be uncompetitive year on year, then the other 30, 32 owners, 31 owners need to get together and drive that ownership group out and get in people that care about making those teams competitive.
And will they? That's the key. And will they?
They did that with Houston with the big kerfuffle with that guy. And they made that when they made the original owner of the 2 years ago, 3 years ago, a couple years ago now, probably 6 years ago now, when they forced the original owners of the Panthers to sell because they were bad people.
Kansas City's Kansas City's like the second or third richest owner too as well. So he's got things in place sitting there pretty for him. So yeah.
There's the Lions, the Giants, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. I think the Lions have had two owners, and the Packers, of course. The Packers are owned by the city, but the only like 3 teams in the history of the league have had 1 or 2 owners. Everyone else has had changed hands and has been bought up by if somebody looks at the Raiders and they say, I think we can do a better job at running this franchise and making them competitive, and they want to make Mark Davis an offer and he wants to sell because he is either tired of being the owner or wants to pursue other interests, and he sells and the other 31 owners sign off on that. And that's the thing, is that each team has a vote on how the league is run. If they think that if the ownership groups think that a $400 million, a $400 million salary cap in 2027 is excessive, they don't have to approve it. They can go to the league and say, we need to renegotiate. And I'm not sure when the NFLPA's new contract comes up. I think that's 2031, and that's the next
how much money
renegotiation.
How much money does Goodell make a year?
I have no idea offhand. 500 million, I think, or something like that. You have to look at it's about the revenue that he generates for the league.
$60 million a year being the commissioner.
He makes his own contract. He writes his own checks. Goodell is worth just.
But you made my point. You made my point.
You guys both make good points.
The Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban just sold, but they still the team, the people that he sold to is a Vegas gambling casino place that the Mavericks got sold to, and he got some money for it, and now here they are running a basketball organization. That's what I'm saying. I said you're going to continue to see with this revenue money and the money flowing out, you're going to have somebody making 10, 15, 20, $30 billion to own a major league sports team. You're not going to see.
But that's the thing, is that the teams across the major four sports in America, most teams are not owned by a singular person. They are owned by a collection of people that pool resources and can buy in. If a ownership group decides that they're not generating, that it's ROI, it's return on investment. If they're investing X amount of dollars with an expected return of X amount of dollars, if they're not generating what they perceive to be enough return on the money that they're putting in, they will sell. They will get out, or they will get more people to invest in. And when they get people to invest in, if you create the next widget that sells 100 million units at $5 a pop, and you have $500 million, and you want to buy a 20% stake in the Lions, let's say. So you go to the Fords, and you say you have $250 million to invest in the team, and the Fords accept your offer, and now you have a minority ownership in the Detroit Lions, and you're expecting that $250 million over the course of a period of time, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, to generate 10. You want to 10x your money. You want to take that $250 million over the next 10 years, and you want to turn it into $2.5 billion. If you expect that, if that after 5 years you're not getting that, you're not seeing that return on investment as a minority owner, you have the right, you have contract rights to renegotiate and to fight for a better product. I mean, if you invest in any team at any ownership level, you have rights as a minority owner. You can make suggestions. You can buy in more. Let's say you invest in the Lions in 2025. In 2030, you've doubled your money. You have $500 million. And you think it's a great investment. You want to continue to support the team. You're going to invest more money, and you buy more shares. You buy a larger percentage of the team, and you go from being a minority owner to a minority.
You're going to pay and Tyreek Hill $65 million to catch football because you've invested all that money into somebody else. Oh, okay. He's going to make 65.
Yes, because you
65 million.
Because you expect if Tyreek Hill is worth $65 million, that is what he will make per year. If he's not worth $65 million, but it's not just
football is an American sport. Basketball is a worldwide sport.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying. Right. When it comes to the salary cap for football, if we continue to see these wages and these prices and people do not go to the games, we're getting TV money, right? But it's very embarrassing to watch TV game with nobody sitting in the stands. I talked to a guy the other day. He said it's going to cost me $119 to go see the Minnesota Gophers play college football. I said, get out of here. He said, yeah, $119 just go watch college. You know where students get to go for free. Students get passes. They sell their tickets and stuff like that. Bradley can tell you, living in Tampa,
the more they have to pay the players.
When Tom Brady came to Tampa, we had to add 5,000 or 10,000 more seats to that stadium. When Tom Brady left Tampa, we had to take 10,000 seats out of that stadium because they knew they were going to sell it and stuff like that. So, and he knows that they don't even show the Bucs game if it's not sold out. They won't even show it in the Tampa market when it's at home. Same things happening in Indianapolis. The same things happening in Carolina. The same things happen around the league right now. You might have a home NFL team, but if you're not selling out the stadium, you're not going to watch your own team play it on the game. And who's that hurt?
No.
I might as well just start watching Kansas City. They win all the time. They're always on TV. Oh, there you go. There's the Chiefs again.
That's the thing is that the NFL, the viewership hasn't gone down. The viewership has not decreased. It's increased. Preseason is increased. Regular season has increased.
On TV. Everybody's watching on TV. Everybody's watching on TV.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is they want to see more people go to the games. That's what I think what it is it comes down to attendance. And I can say this too as a USF writer. When the team sucks, no one shows up. The team was good last year. They're going to show up this year. But again, yes, TV revenue, yes. There's a lot of money coming in through, TV. But at the end of the day, you don't want to have an empty stadium. And I think that's what could happen. I'm not going to say that it is going to happen. What I'm going to say is it could happen in the future. Because
look about what happened to the Super Bowl. The Saints had to pay $500 million in upgrades just to host the Super Bowl this year. $500 million. The owner came up with half of it, and the city came up with the other half just to host the Super Bowl this year. Just to host.
That's going to generate.
Also deter.
That's just because they know that if the city hosts the Super Bowl, they're going to generate businesses. They're going to generate the whole economy
and
around
20 times that.
Yeah.
10, 20, 30 times that
right.
Yeah, you haven't said anything. Go ahead, Alex.
I was going to quickly say for 2 seconds. No, sorry, bro. You guys are both doing an awesome job, by the way. I'm the late arriver, so I'll just quickly chime in. I mean, a half-empty stadium, too, it also turns off potential free agents, so you might hurt your future team that way, too. Guys want to play in the bright lights and, national TV, prime time, if it's up to Goodell, he'd have games scheduled 7 days a week. We got the Eagles and Packers who can't even wear color green playing Friday night in Brazil. I mean, there's no limit to what Goodell is trying to do to make more and more money. Next thing you know, it'll be on Netflix on Thursday mornings. If he can make an extra $1, he's going to have these guys playing, 19 regular season games. The guy sleeps and eats and dreams about money. He lives in Bronxville. I'm right next door to him. It's some rich ass town down a couple towns away, and the guy has like a Batman mansion, like 80 security guards. The guy's like a bulletproof Don over there. But
actually,
both made great points. Adam, when you said before, it's family owned, right? So the Mariners over here in New York lose your neck of the woods to New Jersey Giants. If you're going to get technical, they don't play in New York. The Mariners are family run, and the Hunts are family run too. So Adam, I arrived late, but you're making a good point as usual. Who else is family run? Those are the teams I consider where they're just never going to change ownership.
Detroit and Pittsburgh.
Hunt's daughter. You might see his daughter eventually take over that stadium. They're never the Chiefs are never leaving that family's side. That's the Chiefs family forever, I think.
Yeah. There's only like
they're worth about 20 to 25 billion. So yeah, you're not going to see them.
I mean, and they have Anheuser, they have Budweiser. They're made of money, but I think they're so proud. The daughters are always there. The grandmother used to be there. Like that's one team I never see changing ownership. The Mariners in New York, I just think they're like that's part of their DNA. That's part of their family lineage, if you will. But other teams are expendable. Like Mark Davis might sell that. Who knows? We've seen stranger things happen.
He might, and if he wants to sell, or if there's a minority, like Tom Brady is looking at getting into the ownership group there in LA or in Las Vegas. And like look at it was when Old Man Ford died, William Clay II, when he finally kicked the bucket, and Shelley Firestone Ford got control of the team and actually gave two shits about making a good football team. She single-handedly hired the right people. It all came. She was tired of the team being bad. She was tired of 10,000 fans chanting, "Sell the team, sell the team, sell the team." She invested in that organization, and she's revitalized the program. She got the NFL to give Detroit the draft. I mean, this, and you look across the league and you look at, okay, yeah, Carolina's going to be bad, but for how long? they're every team. It seems like every bad team is one or two pieces away from being a contender. Like yes, the Chiefs have clearly separated themselves from everybody else, but that's it.
Like Lions.
That's it. Everybody else is super competitive, and
But Lions,
I don't think.
Another key thing, I know you're huge, out there, like where you're originally from, Adam, and I think the Lions are awesome. I think the Lions are awesome. They're due for a Super Bowl appearance. Another key for them, making a lot of money because they're bringing in great players, and those C+, B- players that were losing like 11 games back in the day, now they're suddenly primetime players on Sundays. Starts with the coach too, Dan Campbell. That's just as important as anything the Lions have done. So it starts with that. That's the leadership, but more important than the owners to the players.
That was my point.
And Andy Reid was the guy, him. He was sweating. He was dreaming of a guy like Patrick Mahomes. So when he went to Kansas City, that kind of put that in motion. They were going to get the next
Kansas City was a
combo.
Kansas City was a dead franchise.
Absolutely. Andy Reid. He took that over.
They went from not throwing a touchdown pass to a wide receiver to 4 Super Bowl appearances in 10 years. I mean,
crazy.
And you look at every team in the league is hyper competitive, and every team in the league is a piece or two away, a trade away, an injury away from like there are 10 or 12 or 15 teams that are Super Bowl competitive, that are clearly Super Bowl competitive, that could win any given Sunday, that are an injury away from being done. And you say that the stadiums aren't selling out, but I don't think that really matters if the TV viewership is continually up. If the Thursday night games are up, if the Friday night game, if that game in Brazil does numbers, if that stadium's going to sell out, the London game sells out, the Germany game sells out.
Yeah, overseas, huge money, and you're attracting and hundreds of thousands of fans in the UK, across the pond, and now Brazil. Goodell's he's a money merchant, but the guy knows how to market and how to make money. I mean, no other league is doing what they're doing. They're running laps around.
Outside of
every other pro sport looks way up to the NFL.
Outside of the Premier League soccer, every other league dreams of revenue capture like the NFL has. And the NFL prints money. It's not like you have. It's not like MLB. It's not like the NBA. It's not like the NHL where you have 3 or 5 great franchises and then everybody else is trash. And you hope that 10 years from now you can get back-to-back number 1 picks and pick 2 generational talents. The Oilers had generational talent. Washington had generational talent for years, and they didn't do it. Ovi's going to probably break Gretzky's record for most goals this year, and he has 1 cup to show for it. And you look at all the teams that have won Super Bowl. The Eagles won a Super Bowl. The Rams won a Super Bowl. You look at and I just don't.
There's still about 14 teams out there that haven't won a Super Bowl yet. There's about 14,
Buck,
I think.
Sorry, man. I'm Alex. Buck, you were sounding great, man. Your Buccaneers, you beat our Eagles. I mean, you're absolutely relevant. You're in the thick of things. Baker's turned it around. Adam, your Lions can do anything. They can win 12 or 13 games this year.
Yeah.
They have 11 in the playoffs again. Baker's reborn. You got two Hall of Fame maybe wideouts. The Bucs are for real. It's the best thing for these pro leagues is when, like Adam, you nailed it. When you have 12 or 13 or 14 or 15 teams, Lou, your Cowboys are always in the mix. Like that's the best thing for these. The NBA suffers because it used to be like the Warriors. Before that, it used to be like the Lakers and the Bulls or the Celtics. Great teams, but like then you have the bottom feeders, like you said, Adam, where these teams can't get out of their own way. And the NFL thrives off that. The more teams that are good, the more fans are tuning in every Sunday.
But that's why we're talking about the salary cap helps the NFL with a parity. But what I was getting at, the fact of the matter is that if they continue to pay the players so much money and they're having to raise the salary cap each year, you're going to see the owners of the NFL teams have to be 10, 20, 30, 40 billionaires. You're not going to see a Mark Davis guy
Wow.
that's worth $1 billion owning a franchise. You're not going to see a guy that's like the Chargers, owning a franchise. You're not going to see a guy. You're going to see the guys like the Amazon. You're going to see the guys like Tepper just did. Jerry Jones is about 10 billion. He's going to pass it down to his son. His son's going to be having that. And everybody knows the Cowboys generate money no matter what. Them and the Patriots are like the biggest, selling franchises right now. If they ever sold those two franchises, you're going to make double digits when it comes to billions of dollars or whatever. So
amazing money.
My problem was the fact that if the market is so great right now, the fans have to go to the stadium. And I've always been a big proponent of it. We keep building. Nashville just got approved for a new stadium. They're going to build a new stadium in Nashville, or either make updates or whatever they're doing there in Nashville just to keep the Titans.
Oh, yeah, they're building it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's going to be gorgeous.
But I know Jacksonville was probably the one I'm thinking about. Jacksonville's just adding on to their stadium to keep the Jaguars there. They're doing that too. But you know what? If the Jaguars suck, we all know it. The stadium is empty. The Carolina Panthers, the stadium is empty. The Tampa Bay Bucks, the stadium is empty. The St. Louis Rams, when they got busted, they couldn't fill up the stadium. They were empty. They were gone to the Los Angeles market. They share it. They say what I'm getting at is that when the salary caps continue to rise and you're not generating enough in your own stadium, in your own town, and you're watching a football game, as a fan, I'm laughing. Every time I saw the Carolina Panthers, they showed it. And I had friends that would go to that game. I was laughing. Oh, they say there's about 20,000, but they have season ticket holders, but they don't show up. So there's like 8,000 fans at a game. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to me.
Yeah, but that's
parity in the league. Yeah, the parity of the league is trash. That was trash. That's pure garbage running that team down there. That owner is trash. He has no clue how to run an ownership. The same thing we're going to see.
Well, then they need to remove him.
Same thing. Well, they might do that. They might do it, but Washington's going to be the same situation. We're going to see exactly what this is going to be about, because all the football minds used to be able to, all the family-owned people that know how to run football and know how to run an organization, a lot of them wouldn't be allowing, like the Rooneys. The Rooneys they don't give a shit. Player gets all upset, wants to go somewhere. AB, what was the running back's name?
Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell. Yep. They held their ground, but right now we got owners that are worried about, I can't tell you how many Cowboys fans said, don't pay CD Lamb. Let him sit out. Fine him the entire time. If he wants to sit out, fine him the entire time. And they went ahead and signed him now. Now they're all back. Woohoo! Now we got to sign Dak. Well, go ahead and try to sign Dak too now and see what happens there. See what happens there. One and done in the playoffs. How many times you going to keep doing that? You did it with Tony Romo. You're going to keep on doing it with Dak. Is that what the Cowboys are really going to be about? But as long as you keep spending that money, buying all them Cowboy jerseys, as long as you got the biggest, largest stadium in there, 91,000 fans, Cowboys do sell out their stadiums. They do get about 97,000 people going to Dallas games. And then Houston.
Well, and the thing.
Houston's got a good team up and coming right now, but a few years ago, when they were horrible, that stadium could barely put 40-some thousand fans in the stand. That's why the orders left down. When you're losing down in Houston, they ain't coming to the stands. So we talk about parity.
Yeah, but
reality and parity, you got TV money paying the players' salaries, but in reality, though, when you got a shitty ass team, the fans don't show up to the game. It looks pretty bad for the NFL, in my opinion. But you got a wide receiver. The
thing about
making $40 million a year, and you can't fill the stadium up. You can't fill the stadium up because it takes the average family to go to a football game almost $1,500 for one game. A family of four just to go watch one game.
Then don't go. If you don't want to pay it, don't go. Nobody's forcing you to go. No one's forcing you to watch.
They're going to watch it on TV.
So if
they're going to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't see what your point is.
My point is, in 3 years from now, like you mentioned, you just said if the salary cap continues to grow $350, $400 million a year, the salary cap continues to grow, you're not going to see an owner making $1 billion making these choices. They're not going to be able to hold a
But that's not
franchise.
how that works. That's not how that works. The salary cap, the salary cap grows with the league revenue.
Here's a piece of paper. Here's a pen. You do your bottom line. If you ain't making money, I gotta go.
So
Guess what?
that's not how league.
We just paid all these players all this money, and we raised our salary cap up, and all of a sudden the economy crashes and nobody's coming to the game. Nobody's buying jerseys. Nobody's doing this. Stock market's crashed. Oh my God, what are we gonna do now? Oh, we're gonna drop the salary cap down. You can only make $10 million a year as a quarterback. I'm sorry, you got nobody.
If that is the market correction, that's the market correction. If the market tanks and the money revenue, if the NFL quits printing money, when the salary cap isn't generated based on what the owner has, it's based on league revenue. It's about the amount of money that the league generates. If the league generates in excess of $16 billion across in 2027 or 2028, and they divide that amongst the 32 teams, I'd have to do the math, but I think that'd be roughly $400 million per team. During
COVID, the salary cap dropped way below $200 million. During COVID.
Because the league contracted, because they couldn't have fans. But you're only looking at one small piece. And the fact of the matter is that these stadiums,
they still played the game.
Yes, they still played the games because it generated they're not playing.
Why didn't they pay the quarterbacks $45-50 million in?
Because the league wasn't generating that the post-COVID. If you look at the salary cap
during COVID, we had to sit home and watch the games on TV. All this TV money we're talking about.
Yeah.
So why didn't they pay?
And because
$40-50 million.
Because COVID happened. COVID, you're looking. It is a black swan event. The COVID is a black swan event. You cannot base things on a black swan event. It was a once in a lifetime event. When fans were allowed, people still wanted to watch NFL football. They did not want to go to the games. They were not allowed to go to the games. When you look at 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, the league year on year since from before COVID, the only reason that the league the revenue went down was, and I don't even know if the revenue went down. I'll have to look that up and I'll get back with you next week about that because we're about the end of the show. But if you look at it, the fact of the matter is the NFL exploded. It rebounded. People were desperate for entertainment in COVID. And people watched. People were glued to their television because that was what was available. Movies weren't coming out. New shows weren't coming out. The only thing that we had was sports for new entertainment. And that trend, that trend.
We keep talking about TV rights. People were watching TV then. People were watching TV then.
Yes. So and it generated more revenue.
It didn't explode though.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
It did. Yes. The salary cap came down.
Yes, it did.
It came down.
The salary cap rebounded after COVID. Rebounded,
yes, because the fans were able to go to the game.
Because TV revenue exploded post-COVID. After COVID, because COVID is a black swan event. COVID is not COVID. You cannot use COVID to measure these things because COVID is a black swan event. COVID doesn't happen year on year. COVID is a singular point in history. You cannot measure things against COVID. The salary cap may have gone down because of COVID, but it only went down for the COVID year. post-COVID, the salary cap has exploded because TV revenue has exploded, because people are watching more games. The Super Bowl is generating more revenue. The championship game is generating more revenue. The divisional round, the wild card round, the regular season.
Every time an NFL player, like you remember when they didn't stand for the national anthem, they didn't do that.
They didn't do anything.
Revenue went down. Then they had to come back and fix the problem with the American, because it's American Football Sport League or whatever. Revenue went down then. Fans stopped going to the game then. Stopped going to the game then. I'm just telling you now, if the market continues to rise, players have to get paid. Fans go to the game. Credit cards get
fans.
Jobs get lost. Inflation rises. The way the economy and the market's playing right now, if this continues to go this route, what's going to happen is you're going to see
inflation is down.
You're going to see a salary cap lowered, and you're going to see players get mad because they're not going to make the money that they were making 5 years ago.
That's the market. If that happens, the market will correct for that. If TV does not continue to generate revenue, if ticket sales go down, if year on year the revenue for the league decreases, the growth of the cap will decrease, and you will see is more players on more teams making. You will see teams have to make hard decisions about who gets paid and how much they get paid and when they get paid.
He just said you're going to have glamour diva players. This younger generation want to go play in the spotlight. They're going to leave a team like the Carolina Panthers to go play with the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to leave a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go play for the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to leave a team like plays for the Chargers to go play for Kansas City or whatever, because they're generating enough money in the salary cap there. But we can pay these guys this right here. And they don't want to play in a stadium that's sitting there with only 30,000 people sitting there in the stadium. You got to do something. The NFL is going to have to do something to address the stadium attendance in the future is what I'm getting at. As these salaries increase, they're going to have to do something to address the attendance. Are they going to build smaller stadiums? You know, the only thing that saved baseball was revenue sharing. That's the only thing that saved baseball. You could get rid of 10.
The NFL does revenue.
You can get rid of 10 baseball teams right now, and nobody would give a damn about it or whatever.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Because baseball isn't popular.
It makes a lot of money. It makes a lot of money.
It doesn't make NFL money.
You know,
it does not make NFL money.
Hockey's the same way. You know, you could take 10 hockey teams and throw 10 hockey teams away, and it's the same way. So
NHL does not generate this.
I know. Adam has a headache now. He's probably going to go and read Economics 101 and come back next week with a big government book and define economics for me. I'm just old fashioned, old school. You know, I already said I believe the 80s football was the best decade of NFL. And I think parity is around in the NFL. I just think with the salary cap and the issues that we have with players making more money, the attendance at the stadium is going to take a big major hit here pretty soon. And the whole economy thing is really, really it's America's sport. Football is America's sport. It's not a worldwide sport. Baseball is a worldwide sport. More people turned in to watch the Little League World Series than they would an NBA regular season game. You know, people are more intrigued to watch.
And more people watch an NFL regular season game than watch a Little League World Series game.
Yeah, but I mean, I watch preseason games. I didn't see nobody at the preseason games, you know,
because they don't matter.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It don't matter.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that the preseason matters. I'm arguing that the regular season matters. That the regular season generates more viewership, and the playoffs generate more viewership, and the Super Bowl generates more viewership, and the TV networks are clubbing each other to death,
right,
to go out and get those games. They want those games. because they know it will generate viewership, and that will in turn generate commercial revenue. And
like I said, Amazon
the 3.5 hours.
They're paying the NFL $1 billion a year just to carry a game on Amazon.com, Amazon Prime Channel, or whatever. They're paying them $1 billion a year just to do that, and that's a hell of a deal.
And Amazon will sell 3.5. Will sell an hour and a half of commercials at $1 million for 30 seconds, and they will make every single dime that they've invested back in spades. That is why the NFL is a juggernaut. I think at this point, I think the NFL is recession proof. I don't see even if you unless we enter into a second Great Depression. I don't see where the NFL falls off. I don't see this cliff. I don't think that even because you look at you're solely focused on Carolina. So Carolina doesn't. They only have 14,000 fans in the stadium, but they're a younger franchise. They don't have a long history. They're not a storied franchise. They didn't come in gangbusters and win a Super Bowl in their first 5 years. They're in a relatively competitive entertainment market in Charlotte. And the fact of the matter is that NASCAR has led fans for decades. The stadiums, the tracks are empty. Nobody shows up for a truck race. Nobody shows up hardly anybody shows up for an Xfinity race. And the Cup grandstands outside of Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta are empty. And yet NASCAR still gets these monster TV deals. So I don't see this doom and gloom approach of these so-called divas wanting to make more money. If you're in any profession, whatever your job is,
it's the players, Adam. The younger generation of players coming up in the league. It's the same way. It's the same way in the workforce. Nobody wants to work.
You can't tell me that.
A lot of money. So you're telling me all these college athletes, when they come into the league and they're seeing exactly what Jamar Chase is doing, what CD Lamb's doing, trying to renegotiate their contract because they had 3 good years. Now instead of going instead of doing the 4th year and then maybe going into the 5th year option or whatever, now you're going to see a lot more NFL players that have 2 good years and all of a sudden say, we didn't learn this. We're gonna say we're gonna regret this. We didn't learn this from the Michael Thomas days, the Saints. We didn't learn nothing. Michael Thomas, had great years with Drew Brees. Let's just make him the highest paid wide receiver. What's he done what he ended up doing those last 3 or 4 years? Well, just burn the Saints, burn those fans down there in New Orleans. Just burn them all pretty much. So
it's an investment. Not every investment is.
Yeah, it was a terrible investment. But you know what? It's the same thing you're going to see. I mean, with the new breed of players coming in the NFL and fans, if they're going to put up with that,
They do.
It's going to be, to me, it's just going to be terrible for the NFL. You know it? Terrible for the NFL. If these new players that come into the league think that they want to get paying after playing for only 2 or 3 years, I want to get paid now. And next thing you know, all it does is hurts the franchise, hurts the city, and hurts the.
If it was hurting the franchise, if it was hurting the city, if it was hurting the NFL, they wouldn't get paid. Point blank. That Le'Veon Bell held out for a whole year. And who did that hurt? It hurt Le'Veon Bell and it hurt Pittsburgh. It hurt both because both sides were being incredibly stubborn. Both sides thought they were on the right side of history. Both sides demanded the other side concede, and the other side wanted to. And that is the market.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't do what he's supposed to do with the Jets, it's just going to hurt the Jets even more.
Say that again. Ugh.
That's the risk. That's the risk you take. Okay, so, but who?
Let's just.
Do you want to go with Bryce Petty?
It's the market, huh? It's the market. It's the owners.
Yes.
The owners pay the players. It's the owners that pay them.
It's the league revenue that pays the players. The players generate the revenue for the league. They're entitled to just compensation for the revenue that they generate to the league.
So, as you say, in the new generation, what you're saying, TV is paying for the money now, not fans.
Yes. Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
So, as a fan,
I'm saying that
as a fan,
I'm saying that the fans. I'm saying that the fans demand.
I still go to my team's game at least once a year. I still buy a jersey and stuff like that.
Great.
I still do that.
You're supporting the league. You're creating the demand for the product.
Right.
You will watch all 17 Bucs games, will you not?
I will watch every game in the NFL because I am a fan of the NFL.
Exactly. You are driving demand. You can only go to Tampa Bay games, correct?
No, I go to. My son's a Seahawks fan. My youngest is a Bucs fan. So yeah, I'll go to.
Okay.
I've been.
So you fly out to Seattle once a year?
No. I went to.
Okay, exactly.
My kids live in Indianapolis, so I went to the Seattle-Cincinnati game. That was closer.
Okay.
I fly out there to see Seattle.
So you went to Cincinnati.
You went to Legion of Boom. I do that. Maybe when they Legion of Boom, I would have done that for him. But nah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you took a trip. You're saying that the average game costs an NFL fan $1,500 a year, but you took the onus
go to a ball game. I
to
would
go
say
to
unless you want to sit in the nosebleed sections and stuff like that, I would say the average tickets prices are about $100 for a game. Then you go to the stadium, you buy concessions. That's about $600. If you got to stay there in a hotel, that's another $800. So if you have to travel, that's about $1,000. So I'd say about $1,000 for a family of 4 to go to an NFL game.
And you think, and yet you did that twice last year, correct?
I did that. I do that once a year.
You went to
once a year.
So you only went to one game last.
I only do it once a year. That's the only time we can afford it. That's it. Boom, one time. Those
and you're saying
season ticket holders. If I lived in Tampa, I'd probably go to every home game. But if the team
so you don't live in.
If I lived in Tampa, I would go to every home game. I don't live in Tampa. If I
as long as the team was good.
Yeah, but if they wasn't that good,
that's my point.
If they wasn't that good, I would probably sell a ticket to somebody to go to the game to experience it, just to try to make my money back. You know what I mean? Right.
That's my point. That is my point, sir. With all due respect, and I do respect you, and I'm not trying to be. Well, I am trying to be argumentative, but it's not coming from a place of disrespect.
Right.
I appreciate your stance. I'm just trying to.
But I'm just trying. 3 years from now.
Yeah, no.
3 years from now, Bradley, you remember this. Write this down. 3 years from now, if the salary cap is $400 million, Mark Davis will not own the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand how the salary cap is created. It's not based on the individual owner or ownership groups.
No, it's not. It's based on revenue.
It's based on the revenue of the league. Exactly. And so even if Mark Davis might only be worth individually $1 billion.
Right.
But if the Raiders generate $2.5 billion for the league, then they have that. Then they'll have that capital to be able to invest in talent. And the thing is that the talent that is available now is so much better and has much better agency to be able to collectively bargain for a better deal and fair juster compensation for the work that they put in and for the league, for the revenue that they generate for the league. If Kansas City didn't think Patrick Mahomes was see, and that's the thing, is that Patrick Mahomes is on a sweetheart deal now. They signed him in 2019 to a 10-year, $300 million deal.
500.
And they or 500, whatever it was. See, if you're looking at and like Kirk Cousins just signed that big deal down in Atlanta, and Atlanta said, perfect, we're going to have you for 2 or 3 years, and we're building for the future. I mean, these teams, these ownership groups, these GMs, these coaches, they're not stupid. They have so much more information. There's so much more technology. And there's so much more talent. There's such the bigger talent pool to draw from because kids are playing football a lot sooner and at higher levels. And there are more competitive lower levels to get these kids involved in football at younger and younger ages. High level competitive football, ING Academy, and all the other academies from high school football. 130 Division I schools that have 90 athletes. There are 20,000 athletes in a given college football year, and 1% of them makes the league. These are the elite of the elite NFL football players from around the country and around as the NFL grows and continues this effort to brand itself as a international sport to garner viewership in England and Germany and Canada and Mexico and Brazil now, and they continue to grow out. We had a guy on last year, about a year ago now, and he was saying that football, American style football, has caught on in South America. It's big in South America. People love it down there. We just don't know about it because the NFL is king shit of shit mountain in American sports. It blew the doors off of baseball. It took baseball out behind the woodshed and paddled its little red behind. The NFL, because the NFL saw the way things were going in the mid '90s. The ownership group went, the owners went, oh God. We just in the '60s we had Green Bay dominate. In the '70s we had the Steelers dominate. In the '80s we had the Niners dominate. In the '90s we had the Cowboys dominate. We've got to do something. We want to grow. We want to expand. We want to bring in new franchises. Carolina's a market. Houston, we get a team back in Houston. We're moving to St. Louis. We're growing. We're experiencing this huge boom, and we've got to do something to make these poverty franchises like Detroit and Cincinnati and the Oilers, who ended up moving to Tennessee and becoming the Titans. We need to create a way for them to compete, because the NFL hadn't, since the draft, the NFL really hadn't made, from the draft to the merger, and from the merger to the modern salary cap. Those are the three biggest monumental changes that the league makes when the league congeals in the early 30s and coalesces around the handful of franchises that it can sustain. And then we come out of the Great Depression, and we have World War II, and we have the 50s boom, and we have TV, and football is a TV sport. Baseball is very slow. Baseball is very methodical. Baseball is a very thinking man's game. And football is fast-paced. It's hard-hitting. It's blood and guts. It's gladiators. It's everything that, it's hard work. It's tenacity. It's toughness. It's biting kneecaps and gouging your way up to the top. It's modern America, right? It's that take no prisoners, greed is good mentality that sprung up with the cocaine binges of the 80s. It's everything that Americans are passionate about. all wrapped up into a 3.5 hour package that's easily digestible every Sunday afternoon, and now Thursday, and Friday, and some Saturdays, and Monday, and occasionally a Wednesday. And ticket sales for bad teams may be down, but I think you'd be hard pressed to show that I would be where Detroit was in 2019 when they were god awful still before in Matt Patricia's last year, where they were and where Carolina was, and now the fact that the Lions sell 60,000 tickets every week, and they're gonna pack that stadium full every week. The Lions are gonna create. And the thing is that Carolina might only have 14,000 Panther fans there, but they've got 8,000 Steeler fans there. They've got when Cincinnati comes into town, or when the Bucs come into town, or when Detroit goes down to Carolina, because so many people moved out of the Midwest and moved to the coast where there were jobs, where there were opportunities, where they could make money. There's so many sports like hockey and baseball and golf and tennis and NASCAR. They all suffered when all those white collar jobs went away in the 90s, and when everything went from when jobs started being automated, when white collar jobs started being automated, when those $100,000 jobs with an MBA from a community college, when those jobs dried up, and now you had to have a 4-year degree from a major university to make $100,000 as a software engineer, when you couldn't just be some kid in his basement that was really good at computing and knew how to make a .com, and you could sell a .com for $1 million a pop, and you built 5, 6, 7, 8 websites a year, and you made $12 million, and you invested well, and now your portfolio. And in 1999, you were 26 years old with $28 million in the bank as an ad exec, and now it's 2008, and all that wealth is gone because the stock market crashed. And you say inflation is down from 2020.
Okay. Adam Trump, I think Bradley might have to get
I'm running, guys.
Yeah.
Good show, guys. I'll see you next week.
2.5 hours or whatever. I think you pulled your.
Yeah, I got to go to work tomorrow morning. I got to get off here.
Sorry, Brad. I thought you had.
You pulled your presidential card out there. You was on a roll there and everything. I thought we were going to talk about the economy in America, make America great again here. I didn't want to get you going and stuff like that, but you made your point. Like I said, we'll see how the NFL is in 3 years.
Yeah.
But like I said,
sorry, Brad. I thought you said you had extra time tonight. So
yeah,
that's next week, buddy. Next week.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, my bad.
So yeah, but I got to run too as well. Thanks for having me on. I hope to see you guys in the season or whatever.
Come back anytime.
My show happens every Saturday night at 10:30 Eastern time.
Okay.
Check it out on Facebook. All right.
See ya.
Thank you.
Fuck, is it a calling number or no?
No, it's we go StreamYard. We do StreamYard too as well. You can always join with a link, just like Bradley has here too as well.
A link? Okay,
yeah.
just go do that.
Yeah. All right.
If I'm not time. By the way, my show, which is normally on Saturday, will be on Sunday this week, 4 to 6 p.m. But where are you located?
I'm located in Minnesota. I'm on Central Time right now.
Okay, so in that case, for this week, it'll be for you 3 to 5. We're doing it for you guys take care of something on Saturday, so I'm going to do it Sunday from 4 to 6 Eastern Time, 3 to 5 for you, Buck. It's called the Enhanced Sports Show. The number is 512-543-4662. I'll repeat it again, 512-543-4662. Normally it's Saturdays 4 to 6, but for personal reasons, 4 to 6 on Sunday. Normally it's Saturday. So we handle almost everything in the world of sports. We got the big sports: basketball, football, hockey, baseball. Sometimes midget wrestling. All right, maybe not. But you get the general idea. And some sarcastic humor in between, which I do ad lib, by the way. We also have features like the ridiculous moment of the week. I think I just did mine. Sports trivia. We have a monthly feature called the best and worst of sports. So this week we'll be covering that. We'll have our first NFL pro prediction this week because Thursday night game is a week from now. Of course, we'll also have college football predictions. I do those a week ahead of time, Buck, because by the time I go on the air, half the Saturday games are already done. So what'll be the point of doing that on that week? So you'll understand why I'd be calling why I do it a week in advance. After 7 years, I think you would know it by now.
Yeah,
And all,
after 9 years, I do mine on Saturday nights at 10:30 Eastern. We go over. This will be the first one. Bradley plays in that every year. He's came close. He's been in the top 10. I think 3 or 4 or 5. He's been up there. He's been up there. Everybody seems to.
I always finish like second or third every year. I can't quite get.
good job.
I'm like there, and then all of a sudden I have a bad week and I fall out of it.
However,
Yeah.
I keep also in mind one thing that due to time constraints, I can only do like the top 25 and local teams from local interests. I can't do the whole 312 teams in the college football for for the
Oh
given
yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be cut off.
Yeah.
You get the idea.
Yeah.
So if you got time on Sunday 3 to 5 where you are, give a call because hey, the more the merrier. And if I do it myself, give a call.
All right. I appreciate it.
All right,
Have a
Buck.
good night, Buck.
All right. You too.
I want to thank everyone that joined. While we were talking there, I lined up a guest for us next week, guys. Sorry if I was off and I was late, I guess, getting off here. The guy's name is Larry Schechter. He wrote a book called The History of Fantasy Sports. That'll be our guest next week. Just got in touch with him, so we'll
How do you spell his last name there, bud?
It is spelled, buddy. It is spelled S as in Sam. Hang on a minute. Let me go back here. S as in Sam.
Yeah.
C as in Charlie. H as in Henry. E as in Edward. C as in Charlie. H as in Henry. T as in Tom. E as in Edward. R as in Randy. Larry Schechter. Schechter, I think. How you pronounce his last name. Thanks to all the networks and our sponsors. We will be, guys, back here next week. Till then, guys, everyone have a safe weekend. Guys, college football's back. I have a game. I have a Rays game Saturday and a USF game, so I'm going to both. I'm going to have a long Saturday. But anyway, guys, stay safe out there. I love all you guys. Peace.
Good night. And stay safe for Liberty Weekend, of course.
Yes.
Indeed.